What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto was caught between Hinata's love and Ino's temptation? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. I'm sorry Hinata, said Naruto. He had turned around at the sound of her voice and accidentally touched her lips with his own. Naruto-kun, was all Hinata could say. Naruto was about to say something when Shizune appeared. Naruto, your presence is requested by the Hokage, said Shizune. She noticed Hinata's red face and that Naruto was silent. Is something wrong with you two? They both replied no and said goodbye to each other. Shizune could tell that something had happened between the two, but she decided that it was best not to meddle in their affairs. Besides, Tsunade-sama had stressed the urgency in picking up Naruto and the importance of the two guests. The first one was the Cage, an important person for sure, but the second was a man who she remembered to be a missing nin in one of the old bingo books. His name was only in one edition 18 years ago. It was odd that he would be in Konoha, but Shizune didn't dare question Tsunade. Naruto was feeling weird inside his self-consciousness. It was this longing for something unknown. This feeling confused him and made everything else seem less significant than this longing that he felt. What was this feeling? Was it love? And if so, then for who? These were the questions that plagued his mind now. The sound of a door opening brought Naruto out of his thoughts. He finally noticed Anko, who had been waiting at the door impatiently for someone to let her in. Inside the room was the Gondame, Tsunade, who looked very young for her old age due to her jutsu. He also noticed Gaara, the Cage, standing right next to a man he had never seen before. The man had long black hair and an eye patch. The man looked like something out of children's stories about war heroes. The man's gaze was directed at Anko. It's been far too long Anko, said the man. In a flash, he was thrown across the room by Anko's fist, her face displaying pure rage. You bastard, she said slowly and dangerously. How dare you come back after leaving the way you did? Do you know how much hurt you caused when you left? She turned to Tsunade and said, you do realize he was once in the bingo book for trying to kill the Sandaime? Yes, I know who he is, said Tsunade. I knew him while he was growing up and instructed him for a year as did Jiraiya and the Yondaime. I trust him now because it was the Sandaime himself that put Keiji's name out of the bingo books. Now he is the only person who can help Naruto. Naruto was happy to hear that someone might be able to explain what was happening to him ever since he brought Sasuke back. Sasuke had brought his group that he made to help him hunt down Itachi, into the Akatsuki stronghold. Naruto, Kakashi, Jiraiya, and Gaara had followed Sasuke. In the process Gaara regained the Shukaku, but the demon had calmed enough not to be a danger to Gaara. More importantly, the seal for the Kyuubi was broken and its power was given to Naruto. But Naruto was still alive and any sign of the Kyuubi trying to take over Naruto had remained to be seen. By now the man had gotten up and was standing in front of Naruto. He held out his hand, which had a miniature statue of the Kyuubi in it. Take it, said the man. Naruto took the statue in his hand and saw the statue come to life. So you came, said the statue in the Kyuubi's voice. Before I attacked this village I had heard about you and the Okami. I'm sorry I was late, said the man. Now tell me Fox, what's going on? During the fight with the leader of the Akatsuki complications arose, said the Kyuubi. At the beginning of the fight, that Uchiha boy was helping Naruto in the same way that Naruto had helped him fight his brother. Oddly enough, Orochimaru broke free from the young Uchiha's mind and inhabited a body provided by the one called Kabuto. This left the young Uchiha in a weakened state when his brother, who did not die from Sasuke's final blow as was believed, decided to take advantage of the boy's status. He would have killed him if not for the unexpected intervention from Orochimaru. Orochimaru left, however, and Naruto was facing his most dangerous enemy alone. Over the years, I have watched him grow and I have grown fond of the boy. We've gotten to be on more friendly terms thanks to him finding out the truth about why I attacked the village. No one had ever asked the question, did we do something to provoke it? I would have never attacked your village had it not been for the slaying of the foxes. Even a demon finds kin with the animals. How unfortunate, that I did not know that it was another person destroying the foxes in hopes of enraging me. That boy apologized for how bad humans had treated my kin. I decided to help him as long as I was inside of him. The seal, however, prevented me from giving him my real power without hurting him. It was then that I realized that fate had called for me, as it had called for the boy's father. I told him to use a jutsu that would merge us together. He didn't know at the time that it would merge us together. I used the last card I had so that he could become the Hokage and accomplish his dream. That still doesn't answer my question, said the man. What is happening to Naruto? He's becoming me, said the Kyuubi. He will become the new nine-tailed Kyuubi. Listen closely, boy, because I don't have much time left. You will be a demon lord with all my powers and control over Konoha's entire summons and then some. I don't know the specifics of physical change, but I doubt you will become a fox. But what about you? Asked Naruto. I will die, said the Kyuubi. Only one Kyuubi is needed and you will be it. I always wondered who my successor would be. I never imagined someone like you though, I always thought it would be someone with more knowledge. What did you say, you lousy fox? Asked Naruto. I hope you do die. You've been nothing but trouble for me my whole life. Don't worry, I'll be gone soon. Wait, I didn't mean what I said. Please don't die and leave me alone. I can't be a demon lord. Naruto, you shouldn't worry about a thing. You have heart enough to make up for any lack of knowledge that you have, and I have placed a fragment of my self-consciousness in your mind. Just call on it when you need help or a friend, but I doubt you'll need the latter. I give you the gift of my power and the knowledge of all my demonic jutsu. Goodbye Naruto, and I'm sorry for messing up your life. Naruto cried over the statue as the fox slowly began to fade. That's when his body became numb and he collapsed to the floor. Tsunade had him rushed to the hospital. The man, Keiji, had noticed the girl who came to see him. She was one of his friends, but from the way she looked at him it was apparent that she loved him. From what he had heard, Naruto had been too focused on his crush on his teammate, Sakura, but had considered the girl a friend. They often gave each other courage. Freaking idiot, thought Keiji. How the hell can't he tell her feelings for him? Probably doesn't even realize that he has the same feelings for her. That girl's name was Hyuga Hinata. She was cute in her shy fashion, a fact that overshadowed her pure white eyes. She used to have the word fragile stamped on her head till the day when Naruto gave her support in the fight against her cousin. Her black hair was long and flowed with the wind, making her look like a princess. She wasn't in the room today because she wasn't supposed to know about the Kyuubi or about Naruto's transformation. The other people in the room were Jiraiya, Kakashi, Iruka, Tsunade, Gaara, and Anko. Keiji loved that she and him were now on even footing. It took him a week of apologizing just to get her back as a friend. Keiji was just about to give in to the temptation of whispering, "I love you," into her ear when Naruto awoke. "Are you okay, Naruto?" asked Tsunade. It was no secret in the village that Tsunade had come to consider Naruto as a little brother. It was also, coincidentally, how Sakura had come to consider Naruto. "I'm fine, Oba-sama," replied Naruto. He immediately began to notice that he had fox ears and 9 tails. "Life is going to get harder for me, isn't it?" "That is the price of becoming a Hokage," said Keiji. "Your name is Keiji, right?" said Naruto. "I remember Anko calling you that when she punched you." "Yes, I'm Keiji and only Keiji. My parents died before giving me a name. More importantly, I knew your father. He was the Yondaime and like a mentor to me. When I became a Junin, I and your father were thick as thieves. I witnessed your birth and took a picture of it. It was before the Kyuubi was put in your stomach that your father named me your godfather. He asked me to watch over you so that you wouldn't go through a miserable childhood. That was 3 days before I was forced to flee this village." Keiji knelt down to Naruto's bedside and said, "Please forgive me for abandoning you to live that lonely childhood." Naruto smiled. "That's all right," said Naruto. "My childhood made me stronger and gave me clarity of vision on what I truly need. Finding friends later on helped me become even stronger, and I have now found what I always prayed for. True love. Finally you noticed your feelings," said Jiraiya. "You almost lost the girl of your destiny. I never really put much stock in that whole made for each other thing, but you two are made for each other. Go tell her how you feel." "Come with me," said Keiji. Anko followed him since Tsunade put her in charge of keeping him from causing harm. "Oh, Naruto, if you want to look normal, just picture yourself looking normal." Naruto had been followed by Sasuke and Sakura, both of whom had become an item and were trying to help Naruto realize Hinata liked him. Keiji led them to the old abandoned house complex, where an entire clan was murdered under false charges. Everyone avoided that place like the plague with good reason. It had all the warmth you'd find in a graveyard with spider webs decorating decaying walls. Sakura was the type of person who would find this place chilling to the bone. "You don't think those stories of ghosts are true, do you?" said Sakura, her voice giving away her fear. "Of course not," said Keiji in a scary voice with a flashlight under his chin and had a horror mask on. Sakura fainted at the sight of him and Anko knocked him upside the head. "What the hell did you do that for, Baka?" said Anko in a pissed off voice. "She was so scared that I couldn't help myself," replied Keiji. One of the doors to a room opened, scaring the group except for Keiji, and out stepped Hinata. She was blushing at the sight of Naruto. "What are you doing here, Naruto-kun?" she said. She looked cute as she stared at him like a deer in the headlights. "It took me a long time to realize how I truly felt about you," said Naruto. "I'm sorry for taking so long because of my stupidity. I know now that the only reason I had a crush on Sakura was because she was popular, but now I know that the one I love is you, Hinata." "Naruto-kun, is this true? Do you really love me? I want to always be by your side and to love you so much that you'll say it's too much. Do you feel the same way about me?" "Yes, Naruto-kun." The two embraced each other with tears trickling down her eyes. Naruto held her head up with his chin and kissed her. The warmth of her lips made him feel at ease. She kissed him back till they both needed air to breathe. Warmth filled the room from where the two bodies became one with love. "We'll just leave now," said Keiji, breaking the silence and bringing the couple back to reality. Anko punched him for breaking the mood and offered to take them all to eat Ichiruki ramen, Keiji's treat. The new couple talked over ramen about the future, their future. "I don't know how my dad would react to it," said Hinata. "I don't think he would accept us." "He accepted you as the heir to the Hyuga clan," said Naruto. "I'm positive he'll accept us. If not, then he's just being stupid and caught up in tradition." "Who's caught up in tradition?" said a voice that made the young couple jump. The two turned around to see Hinata's father smiling at them. "Father, Arashi-san, I hope you don't mind me joining you too," said Hirishi as he sat next to Hinata. "I have heard from Neji that you two were leaving the Keiji complex with its only surviving member. I'm not angry at you two, in fact I'm happy that you two have gotten together. The Yondaime and I were great friends. I'd be more than happy if you two were to stay together for the rest of your lives. I have come not only to speak my part, but to deliver to you, Naruto, your inheritance." Arashi handed Naruto a bunch of keys on a ring. Naruto, a bit confused, asked, "What are these?" "These are the keys to your father's compound. Your father was a descendant of the Seigan clan, a clan that was the foundation of Anbu. When its members were still alive, it had more influence than my own clan. Sadly, most died from missions or a genetic disease, but your father was lucky enough to not bear the trait. The Uzumaki clan was a smaller clan that grew out of the Saiyajins, but also shared the same misfortune. When your father became Hokage, he used the Seigan surname to gain favor with some of the elders, but he did leave you with the Uzumaki surname. You are its sole heir and I hope that you complete your father's dream of resurrecting the Seigan clan." Arius turned to leave, but noticed Keiji sitting next to Anko. "I see you came back to fulfill your promise," said Arashi. "But it seems like it takes a back seat to other matters." "Who do you think organized today's events?" asked Keiji. "I helped show my godson what he truly felt. As I recall, you haven't been that good of a father to your daughter and have been known to be more than little harsh on her. That was me, but not today. I'm going to become the father I should have been. Everything I ever did only made her more fragile, but the son of one of my old friends helped change my entire family. My nephew and I are closer, as is my nephew and my daughter. Hinata has grown stronger and is now the heiress that I tried to force her to be. I owe so much to that boy." With that, Arashi departed from the Ichiraku ramen stand. Anko was having her own problems with Keiji. She had noticed that he was the only person who hadn't ordered anything. His stomach was growling and he had money to pay for it, but still he hadn't ordered a bowl of ramen. "Here, try some of mine," said Anko. "Come on, don't tell me you don't like ramen." "I've never had ramen," said Keiji. Naruto stopped eating, Sasuke and Sakura turned away from each other and looked at Keiji, Hinata stared at him in confusion, Anko looked shocked, and everyone at the stand had stopped their conversations and looked at the man who never tasted ramen. "I haven't either," said a voice behind Naruto. "Gaara, I didn't notice you were there," said Sasuke. "You've never had ramen either," said Naruto. "Nope," said Gaara, But I made ramen for you once, Keiji, said Anko, ignoring Gaara completely. That was after I came back from that terrible mission, said Keiji, his eyes had a soft tone to them. I didn't eat it that night, if you can recall. I just stared at it and went to sleep in your comforting arms. Your love was all I needed then, not food. I heated up the ramen and took it with me on the day I fled the village. It was the last token of your love that you had given me. I couldn't bring myself to eat it, in fact every time I saw the thermos I carried it in, I would hang my head and cry. I still have the thermos, but it probably smells like something died in my thermos. Quick, somebody get these deprived souls 2 bowls, shouted Naruto. Later on in the day when evening was setting into the sky, Naruto and Hinata walked to the Seigen compound. Sasuke and Sakura were trailing the two, hoping to see a good show. Naruto's sharpened sense of hearing would have picked up the sounds of their footsteps if Naruto wasn't so busy trying to figure out how to explain his problem to Hinata. He was afraid of her reaction towards him. The compound itself was huger than the Uchiha and Hyuga compounds. It sported 70 rooms, 30 bedrooms including 1 master bedroom, 20 studies, 2 kitchens, 10 bathrooms, a library, and 7 dojos. The backyard was immense, with a waterfall to give a natural wonder. The door was made especially to keep out intruders because it only opened by someone of Seigen descent touching the seals on the main gates. That was when Sakura and Sasuke made themselves known so they could get in. They had all spent a great deal of time getting lost inside the huge complex that when they got out it was already dark. Sasuke and Sakura decided to spend the night in 2 of the guest bedrooms that were right next to each other. Naruto took Hinata outside to reveal his secret to her. Naruto-kun, why have you brought me here? Asked Hinata, nervous as to what his intentions might be. I wanted to reveal to you my deepest, darkest secret, said Naruto. You know that I am the son of the Yondaime, but what you don't know is that I was also the vessel of the Kyuubi had attacked our village. But didn't your father kill it? Asked Hinata. It was too powerful to be killed, so he had to seal into an infant that hadn't developed its chakra yet. My father didn't want to burden another family with this curse, so he chose his only son, whose mother had died in childbirth. That is why the village has hated me so much. Naruto-kun, I'm sorry, said Hinata. If only I had more courage then I would have been able to keep you from being lonely for all this time. But what did you mean by was the vessel of the Kyuubi? During my fight with the Akatsuki, I was having trouble and the seal that was prevented me from using enough of the Kyuubi's chakra. We had become close friends at the time, and he, not wanting to see me hurt or killed, sacrificed his life by merging with me. In short, I have become the Kyuubi. I just wanted you to know and see, but do you still love me? Naruto's eyes showed his hope that she would accept him. He had changed back into his now natural form with the fox ears and 9 tails. Hinata looked at him with eyes that held none of the coldness that the villagers had shown him his whole life, but the love and care that he had longed for all his life. I will always love you, said Hinata. No matter what you look like or what you are, you will still be the person who gave me strength when I was weak. You've given me strength to Hinata, said Naruto. Your love fills this hole inside my very being that has been missing something. I wanted to put the pieces in with anything I could find, blindly going after the first girl I saw, but now I know that the person I want to fill that most important piece of me is you. I love you, Hinata-chan. He pressed his lips against hers to feel the warmth of her love, to feel that heat that was the most intoxicating drug. She kissed him back and they both found their way to the main bedroom. They just laid on the bed, kissing and whispering words of love as they held each other in love's embrace. Chapter 2. Vacation. The Rookie 9, as they were still called, and Guy's team were standing in Tsunade's office. Also in the office were Anko and the Suna siblings. The only person not present was Kakshi. You were expecting Lurch? Amazingly, he arrived only 2 seconds before you would be a minute late, just on time for once. This shocked everyone in the room except for Keiji. What? Asked Kakashi. Was I that late? No, shouted Sakura. You're on time for once, Kakashi-sensei. I told Kakashi to be here 3 hours ago so that he'd be on time, said Keiji as laughed maniacally. I finally figured out a way to make you arrive on time. I'm going to have to remember that one, said Tsunade. Alright, I know you're all anxious to find out why you've been called here. I am giving you all clearance to go with the case cage to Gakko Island, known for its world-famous beaches. The case cage is going there on business and I've asked the Hokage if you could all come. This will not just be a vacation. Some time will be spent teaching you new techniques to help you all improve. I also would like to announce two appointments to Junin. Naruto and Sasuke, congratulations. Even with periods of absence you have both reached Junin before some of your other peers. Now, wait, where the fuck is Guy? He should be here. That guy is always notoriously early. It was at that exact moment that Guy walked into the room and saw Rock Lee. Lee, Guy Sensei. Lee, Guy Sensei. Lee, Guy Sensei. The two hugged each other, sobbing with a sunset in the background. How the hell is that possible? Said Keiji. It's noon and we're inside. They always do that, said Kurenai, sweat dropping like everyone else. Well, I guess now I have to bring you up to date, Guy, said Keiji. No, I was listening outside the whole time, said Guy. And you didn't come in, why? I wanted to make a dramatic entrance. Okay, Guy, if you ever do that again or yell like you are yelling now, inside or outside, I will make you a soprano. Everyone else, pack your bags and be in front of the village entrance tomorrow. Why didn't you tell us this before? Asked Ino. Don't you think we need time to shop? Ino, that's your name, right? I have full confidence in your ability to shop for everything and pack a bag for 3 weeks in a day. You don't need to buy a new swimsuit to impress the fat boy that you like. No one had told Keiji that fat jokes were a taboo around Choji, who immediately used his Baika no Jutsu to attack Keiji. Keiji didn't consider Choji a threat and drop-kicked the heavy Chunin. The ball of fat busted through the Hokage's door and left Choji in a daze. Knuckles cracked as Keiji turned around to see both Anko and Tsunade with scary faces. In seconds, Keiji was a bloody pulp on Tsunade's floor. The bush ride to the airport plagued by Guy's annoyingly lame style and Rock Lee's hyperactiveness. The next dread came at the airport. They were stopped by their worst enemy, the metal detector. Kakashi, Guy, and Anko immediately had oh shit expressions on their faces. Don't worry, the Hokage wrote a special note to let Tenten pass, said Kurenai, who didn't realize that the weapons mistress wasn't what they worried about. It's not Tenten that's the problem, said Kakashi. The real problem is that Keiji is the original weapons master and Tenten couldn't even hold a candle to him. This was proven in 2 hours, when Keiji had filled 3 overflowing boxes full of weapons and was still going. Everyone watched with shocked expressions, yes, even Shino, except for Tenten, who was crying because of how outclassed she was by Keiji. It was another 3 hours and Keiji was still putting away his kunais. To everyone's dismay, he revealed to also be carrying needles. The security guard had decided that he had enough of this, having had once made the mistake of asking Tenten to remove all her weapons. It's okay, sir, said the guard. Just go on ahead, you can put away your weapons. Are you sure? Asked Keiji. I wouldn't want you to lose your job because of me. Just go. Hinata and Naruto sat next to each other on the plane just behind Sakura and Sasuke, who were just behind Anko and Keiji. Naruto was talking to Hinata about the 3 years he spent training with Jiraiya. Hinata laughed at Naruto's impersonations of Jiraiya and Naruto was about to impersonate Tsunade for an encore when he felt a tap on the back of his head. He turned around to see Gaara with Kankuro. At that moment he noticed a depressed Keiji walking over next to Kakashi. Kurenai was trying to cheer Anko up while her so-called male counterpart tried to cheer Keiji up. You two were close, asked Kurenai. As close as you and Asuma were, said Anko. She turned to notice tears in Kurenai's eyes. As close as you and Asuma were, said Anko. She turned to notice tears in Kurenai's eyes. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring up painful memories. It's alright, I think I did the same thing, said Kurenai. I think we've both been hurt, but you're lucky. You can restore that joy and that is why I envy you. Can I really, Kurenai? Can I really turn back time to make the pain go away? I've been struggling all these years, but I feel the pain just gets worse. This conversation did not escape the ears of Sakura or Ino, who both styled themselves as avengers of oppressed or abused women. When both Anko and Kurenai admitted their emotional pain, the girls made a vow to make the person who had caused that pain pay for it, namely Keiji. They had thought up the vilest plan for revenge on an airplane. Sakura quickly disguised herself as a stewardess, while Ino mixed a coke with laxative, ouch. They both smiled at each other as Sakura walked towards Keiji. Now it's your turn to feel pain, you son of a bitch, thought Sakura. This is for Kurenai-sensei and Anko-sensei. To her surprise, Sakura found Keiji looking out the window of the airplane with a depressed look on his face. It looked like he was on the verge of tears from being brought to those awful places in his memories. It reminded her of how Sasuke would wake up from nightmares about that fateful day when the Uchiha clan was wiped out save for the two brothers, Sasuke and Itachi. Now Itachi was dead, but the question still remained, why did he kill his own clan? The thoughts had made the young Uchiha sad. They made his face into a mask of despair and depression. That mask was now being worn by the missing ninja known as Keiji. "You look a little down, sweetie," said Sakura, trying to find out more without blowing her cover. "Would you like to talk about it?" "Sure, sit down please," said Keiji. He waited until the stewardess had sat in the seat opposite to him. "That woman up there wearing fishnets and has short hair, she and I used to be closer than friends. We were lovers, depending on others through that intoxicating drug known as love. It all started when I was young. I had a bad start, just like the blonde boy sitting next to the shy girl with the white eyes. My family was executed by order of the Sandaime himself. My father and the whole clan were charged with treason, and so the whole clan was wiped out. Luckily for me, they found out the reports were false and prevented my execution at the tender age of 1 hour. The same couldn't be said for my mother, who died before giving me a name. The Sandaime decided that I should only have a surname, to show that the Keiji clan is still alive, or so he claimed. It was basically a, fuck you, to me. When I was growing up, I put a wall around me so I wouldn't let other emotions get in the way of my revenge. One girl didn't leave me alone. Her name was Mitarashi Anko, and she would beat civilization into me. It was when we both turned 18 that we really got serious. We did everything together back then. We were both not trusted, me for my lineage and her for her teacher, Orochimaru. She made me less brutal, less sadistic, and when we first met, the afternoon of that day, I went to my mandatory therapist for the first time. She made me want to change everything bad. I loved her so much that I wanted to be a better person. It was that fateful mission that tore a rift, that in this right eye that I cover up. It was love for her that made me spare the Sandaime, for I could have killed him. I hate myself because I hurt her, and all this time I thought I was the only one who would be hurt by this." Sakura felt tears run down her cheek and she forgot all about the plan. It was then that another question popped into her mind. What is under that eye patch? She got up to leave, and on her way to the back of the plane, she accidentally gave the glass to none other than Sasuke. When she had realized what she'd just done, it was all too late. Keiji chuckled at how she had been able to forget her plan so easily and give the glass that was meant for him to her boyfriend. He decided that maybe the tragedies in his life were just that powerful. He looked over and noticed Anko was heading for the bathroom. He wanted to talk to her in private, and that would be the best place. Mitarashi Anko turned around to see the man who made her burn standing right in front of her. His eyes were sad and lonely. She knew he was longing for his old comfort in her heart. She didn't know what to think of him, which was until yesterday when the Gondame told her about his mission. It was after the Kyuubi was sealed. Okamis retaliated against the treatment of their brothers by nature. Keiji had inherited the Keiji clan's most valued blood limit, the sealing eye, an eye with the ability to seal chakra with their eyes. It was an offshoot of the Hyuga clan's Byakugan and more powerful too. During the fight with the only 9-tailed Okami, Keiji apologized to the wolf spirit, knowing what it felt like to get the short end of the stick. An Anbu member tried to attack the Okami, but was prevented from harming the wolf spirit by Keiji, who lost his eye in the process. The wolf spirit in turn gave Keiji its eye and revealed to Keiji that if he had used that eye on him, the result would have been a loss of both lives. The Hokage knew that, but still sent a man to his death to keep the village safe. Anko now realized the source of all Keiji's anger and the source of the rift. She stared into the only human eye Keiji had. "When I left, I didn't realize you'd be hurt," said Keiji. "I thought that you'd curse me, forget me, hate me, and move on." "How could I, Baka?" asked Anko in an angry one. "I loved you and I wanted you to marry me, have kids with, and spend the rest of our lives together. I hoped you felt the same way." "I did feel the same way back then," said Keiji. "I was going to propose to you on that day. The day after I left, when I woke up and realized that you weren't there and probably never would be there by my side again, I cried. My love for you kept me alive, so that someday I would come back and fill that rift between us with my love for you. Please, Anko-chan, Let us go back to the way things were before that day. Anko sniffed and said, I have waited for you for so long and now you're back. I tried to hate you, but I can't do it. Let's mend the rift starting at our old pace. Then Keiji touched her lips with his own and felt that old familiar warmth that kept those demons out of his dreams. The jolt of excitement soon swallowed them both whole as they continued to passionately kiss her. She tastes like heaven, thought Keiji. He then grabbed her left and began to manipulate into all the familiar angles. She gave that same moan that was like music to his ears as he kissed neck. She then ran her hair through his head as she nibbled at his sensitive right ear. Next Anko unzipped his pants while he pushed her skirt up and pulled down her panties. He had gotten one from under her shirt and her bra as he entered her. It relieved him that no one else had been there, but just as he was about to continue there was a knock on the door. It was one of the stewardesses. The plane is about to land, will you please take your seat, said the stewardess. Keiji was a bit annoyed that their moment of makeup was interrupted, but Anko whispered the words, later, into his ear in a seductive tone that made him hard. They kissed and both went back to their seats. Keiji noticed Naruto and Hinata both sleeping peacefully on each other's head. It was adorable and it reminded Keiji of him and Anko. Thank you Naruto for giving them a reason to let me back into the village and back into her life. You've done so much for me, but I have done so little for you. It wasn't Keiji who had been Naruto's father figure as he should have been. It was Iruka, Kakashi, and Keiji's one-time sensei, Jiraiya. The plane landed and they all took a bus to the cabins near the beach. Okay, said Keiji trying to get everyone's attention. They had just reached the cabins, but there were 3 instead of just one big one. Okay, listen to me, we have just decided the pairing for houses and who heads those houses. I and Anko will be taking the following: Naruto, Hinata, Sasuke, and Sakura. Kurenai and Kakashi will take Shino, Kiba, Neji, Tenten. Guy and Rock Lee will take Shikamaru, Tamari, Choji, and Ino. Gaara and Kankuro will be staying with Anko and me since we have the biggest cabin. Why do you have the biggest cabin and we have the smallest? Shouted Ino. You have the smallest cabin because we decided who gets what cabin through rock paper scissors. The head of your cabin sucks at rock paper scissors. If you want to blame someone then blame him. I know, said Anko. Why don't we all have a sleepover tonight after we finish unpacking our things? Sure, said Keiji who got a wonderful idea, an awful idea, a wonderful awful idea. So what do you want? Said Neji, who acted cold towards Keiji due to the man's status as a missing nin. First of all, said Keiji. You ever talk to me without respect or in that tone, Neji, I will go apeshit on your ass in a second and rip out those eyes that you put so much pride in. Second, I have an idea for a prank to pull on the girls. I've called all of you boys except for Kakashi and Guy because I don't think they'd participate, or in Guy's case, keep it a secret. I will suggest a game of spin the bottle. You guys are going to spin until I give the signal, which is a tap on the eye patch, and one of you spins the bottle. I'll make it land on me and the person who's daring dares me to remove my eye patch. My eye has the ability to render people unconscious, so turn around before I remove it. Then, we'll write on their faces with magic markers and steal their pajamas, but not their underwear. If we stole their underwear they would definitely kill us. This prank has a 50-50 chance of us getting killed in the process, so I've rigged booby traps around a certain area. There is a safe way which I'll give you a map to. There we can wait until they cool down and laugh at the joke. Are you serious? Asked Sasuke. You called us here for a prank. I called you here to see if you're man enough, worthy enough, for me to bestow upon you something that will improve the power of all your techniques, said Keiji. All you have to do is participate in your joke, besides I run the biggest risk for being the mastermind behind all this. Anko is going to know who it is that did this and she and the other girls will be coming for my head. No one wanted to back down, so they all agreed. Anko was surprised when Keiji decided on truth or dare, since anyone could dare him to take his eye patch off. But Keiji claimed that he could use this as a way to help Naruto tell the others about his demon problem. Don't forget, Naruto is the new Kyuubi. Tsunade was probably telling the villagers about Naruto right now and he hoped that things weren't to hell in a handbasket. Anyway, the first spinning was Ino and she landed on Naruto. So Naruto, truth or dare, said Ino with an evil smile. Dare, said Naruto in defiance of her look. Okay then, I dare you tell us your deepest, darkest secrets, said Ino. Naruto looked at Keiji, who nodded his consent. Naruto cleared his throat and said, "It all starts with the attack on the village 18 years ago on the day I was born. The story wasn't true about the Kyuubi being killed by the Yondaime. The Kyuubi was too powerful to be killed. Instead, the Yondaime used a jutsu to seal the Kyuubi into an infant who hadn't already developed his chakra lines yet. Since he didn't want to burden another family with the curse, he chose his own son, whose mother had died in childbirth. He chose me, the son of the Yondaime, to be the vessel of the Kyuubi. That's why I've been hated by the villagers, and that's why the Akatsuki were after me. Now here is where I am right now. During the battle with the leader of the Akatsuki, I was going to die if not for the Kyuubi sacrificing itself by merging with me. It gave me all its power and turned me into the new Kyuubi. I'm now a demon lord with control of Konoha's entire summons." To his surprise, Naruto found that all of his friends now had looks of admiration and acceptance. Naruto felt at peace that his friends liked him for who he is. Naruto then spun the bottle and it landed on Tenten. "Okay Tenten, truth or dare," said Naruto, who had noticed how close she and Neji had gotten. "Dare me," said Tenten in a bring it on bitch voice. "Bad mistake," said Naruto. "I dare you to kiss Lee." Everyone looked at Naruto with shock while Neji shot Naruto a look of death. The young blonde just smiled a cold smile, and when Tenten gave Rock Lee a quick peck on the cheek, Naruto laughed an evil laugh that made Orochimaru shudder with fear. Tenten then spun the bottle softly so that it could land on Neji, her tag team partner. "Neji, truth or dare?" "Truth. Do you love me?" "Yes I do Tenten." Now Neji spun the bottle with the right amount of strength so that it landed on Hinata. He smirked at the thought of a perfect idea to avenge Tenten. He said, "Truth or dare?" "Dare," said Hinata with the determination to be strong and brave. "Slap Naruto on the face," said Neji. Hinata reluctantly obeyed and slapped Naruto on the face. The slap caused a lot of laughter and chuckles from the rest, but Naruto knew that Hinata knew the perfect way to pay him back. Hinata spun the bottle till it landed on Tenten again. "Truth or dare?" asked Hinata. Tenten chose dare because she couldn't see innocent Hinata doing anything dirty. She was dead wrong. "Whisper into Neji's right ear something intimate." Hinata knew that Neji's right ear was sensitive and Neji had been thinking perverted thoughts, he is a guy, about Tenten. When Tenten whispered into his ear, Neji had a hard time blocking up a nosebleed, so he grabbed the quickest thing he could find, which happened to be one of Tenten's weapon scrolls. The casualties were one weapon scroll and Neji, who was beaten senseless by Tenten. Tenten then spun the bottle and it landed on Sasuke. Tenten was going to get revenge even though it would anger Sakura. The Uchiha's choice was obvious, dare. "I dare you to kiss Hinata," said Tenten, who noticed all too well Sakura's death glares. Sasuke noticed Naruto's death glares and also Keiji giving him the sign. Sasuke spun the bottle and miraculously, it landed on Shino. Shino, not wanting any dark secrets to get out, chose dare. "Alright, I dare you to remove those glasses," said Sasuke. "I don't think we've ever seen you without them." Shino removed his glasses and revealed he had a very light gray eye color that seemed a bit chilling. Shino the spun and landed on Keiji, he knew it was time. "Keiji, I dare you to remove your eye patch," said Shino. All the girls looked at him while the boys looked away. Keiji had wolf eyes that were a red circle instead of yellow surrounding a black circle with a narrow yellow slit running down the center of it. It made the girls drowsy and in a minute they were all sleeping on the floor. From the moment they heard the girls scream, the boys started run, still holding on to the pajamas that they stole. Kiba and Shino took Hinata's, which infuriated Naruto to no end, but he and Sasuke both took one half of Sakura's pajamas. Kankuro and Gaara, yes they joined in the prank as well, had taken Temari's pajamas, while Shikamaru and Choji took Ino's pajamas. Rock Lee and Neji took Tenten's pajamas, which Neji used the part he had to stifle his nose bleed caused by the sight of Tenten in white panties, something only in his dream. Neji and Choji were the only ones who hadn't seen their girlfriends in their underwear before. Neji had only admitted his love for Tenten that night, and Choji and Ino had been dating for 2 months after Choji gave up the last piece of barbecue to Ino for once. Keiji had taken on the dangerous task of stealing Anko's pajamas. The boys all got a look at what was the sight of the hottest Anbu member in a black bra with black panties with a red dragon on it. Kiba was the only one who dared to take a picture. Anko was the first to wake up and first noticed how cold the room was for being near the beach in the summer. She then noticed that she was in her panties and that she had bizarre symbols written on her face with a black magic marker. Immediately she woke up the other girls who noticed their current predicament. It caused them to scream in shock and then in rage. Each one let out the names of the two people they cursed to death. It started with Sakura, Naruto, Sasuke, Shino, Kiba, Shikamaru, Choji, Neji, Rock Lee, Kankuro, Gaara. They all paused as they said the last name all at once. Keiji, you bastard. Keiji could hear their words like a sense of danger from the east winds. He heard Anko's voice and it scarred him right to the bone, but unlike Naruto, who was too scared to run at top speed, Keiji was a flash of lightning only leaving behind an after-image of his terrifying eye. Naruto noticed the after-image and was probably the only one to notice the eye. "Look, it's the after-image of his eye," shouted Naruto. Everyone turned to look at the image and was immediately filled with a greater sense of dread than they had for the voices of death that had condemned them like a judge laying down the death penalty. "Oh my god, it's creepier than Shino's," said Shikamaru, who unfortunately ran into a tree. Choji, not wanting to leave behind his friend, went to help Shikamaru up. To his horror there was Ino and in 2 minutes, he was tied to a tree next to his friend. Both were blindfolded and could only cower in fear of the sound of cracking knuckles. Shino felt a deep sense of fear for the first time. He wasn't able to analyze things clearly, everything bottled down to instinct, a thing he had very little experience with. His teammate on the other hand knew a lot about instinct, but wasn't very bright when it came to fear. When he was scared, he lost a lot of his much-needed IQ points and his instinct had always served him wrong. Both were running for an hour before they decided to find a place to stay. "How far is she?" asked Kiba. He panicked at Shino's shocked expression. "What do your bugs say on her position?" "You two can run, but don't try to hide from me," said a very pissed of Hinata. Her Byakugan had been activated and face was red with new emotions, anger and rage. She walked towards her soon-to-be-dead teammates as they cowered in fear of a Hyuga heiress. Kiba gulped as Shino shook uncontrollably. "How dare you two write on my face?" Neji heard his cousin's shouts of rage, but he was more worried by the weapons that were raining down on him and Rock Lee. Tenten was behind them, gaining with a speed that made the young Hyuga prodigy scream inside. "Can't we be rational about this?" asked Neji in a frightened voice. "I mean all we did was write on your face. And stole my clothes you bastards," shouted Tenten in rage as she threw another windmill shuriken at Lee. "I'll fucking kill both of you." "Christ, how many weapons do you have?" asked Neji. "I've lost count at how many katanas were thrown at me." "Where the hell do you put those things up your ass? Is that why you tried to look at her panties?" asked Rock Lee. "I noticed you looking at her butt last night." "Shut up you moron," hissed Neji, but the damage had already been done. "I'll kill you," shouted Tenten at the top of her lungs. In an instant, she was standing right before them with the eyes of death. They both fell down on their knees to beg for mercy, but they might as well have asked the devil for ice. The forest was filled with their death screams, they both screamed like girls MWA ha. Sasuke heard the Hyuga's last scream of pain and was filled with an even deeper sense of dread. Even Neji screamed, thought Sasuke. He knew Neji would never scream unless it was truly horrifying. Neji had a stick too far up his ass to scream for something trivial. "I'm glad we got Sakura," said Sasuke. "They got the weapons mistress. But I doubt she'd use her weapons," said Naruto. "She'd use her fist which she rarely uses, preferring her weapons and all, but we got Oba-sama's apprentice." "And your point is?" "Oba-sama uses her fist and has incredible amounts of strength. Sakura is the same thing, so if Neji and Rock Lee screamed from being beaten by a person who doesn't use their fist very often, then what will happen to us since we're being chased by someone who can destroy walls with her fist?" Sasuke was close to shitting himself, in fact he could almost feel it. He then looked up to see Naruto's terrified expression. He turned around to see Sakura's 1,000 years of pissed-off face. Sasuke and Naruto hugged each other in fear as Sakura got closer and closer. "I can't die yet," whimpered Naruto. "I haven't even become Hokage yet." "I can't die either," said Sasuke. "I haven't restored my clan." The silence of the forest was broken by the cries of two young boys dying. Keiji sighed and placed another pair of grave markers onto the ground. They were all either dead or wishing they were, but he would not them be forgotten. He was proud of them, even the Hyuga with a stick so far up his ass it was poking out of his mouth. He poured himself some sake into a cup and said, "Here's to you friends. May you and I live on in legend." "Don't worry," said a voice. Keiji turned around to see Anko glaring at him. "I'm going to make you hurt." "I surrender," said Keiji. "Do with me as you wish." "Oh, you can bet we will." "We?" asked Keiji in horror. Anko stepped aside to reveal the other girls carrying each of their catches. Tamari had only Kankuro, but Keiji wasn't surprised. Even if Naruto was stronger, Gaara was definitely smarter. "Well, I hope that you'll kill me instead of them, right?" "Oh, we have something else in mind." Shit. Keiji regained consciousness the next day. During that time he spent unconscious, he had a nice chat with Orihime, his guide during near-death experiences. When he woke up he noticed two things. 1. The boy's hair had been dyed either look like it smells of garbage green or a sparkly purple. 2. They were all devoid of clothing including Keiji himself. It was Keiji's laughter that woke the others up and it was their laughter that made Keiji look in the mirror. He screamed as he saw that his hair was dyed bright neon pink. Meanwhile the girls laughed as they readied the photo camera. The gang had been beaten senseless with the boring stick and even what Shikamaru was doing, sleeping, did you expect him to river dance, seemed interesting. Ino and Sakura were trying to come up with an idea. They had gone to the beach every day so it wasn't anything special. They were both fighting over who had the better idea of a fun beach game to play and Keiji decided that he'd had enough of it. "Shut up both of you," he shouted. "You're giving me more acid reflux disease than my damn breakfast." "It's nearly noon," said Ino. "Did I ask for the time? I could have sworn you just assumed that I didn't know the time. Breakfast for me is when I freaking feel like it. If you two are really bored then why don't you go into town and shop?" "I thought the only city near here was 50 miles away," said Sakura. "We're near the beach, why the hell would there be no town near a place begging for prime real estate? You can see the town out of the window. Did you both eat a bowl of retarded for breakfast? Where the hell is the sake?" Ino looked at Sakura and the two made plans for the gang to go out into the village. These plans, unfortunately, called for Keiji to chaperone the trip. Luck was on the two kunoichi's side as Anko also wanted to go. She used the ultimate topic to get him to agree, shopping for Y outfits. This got us to almost everything. It worked better than her fists did. Naruto and Hinata walked into shop after shop, just looking for gifts for each other. They walked down an alley to find Anko walking Keiji. The two were laughing and kissing each other as they walked into a place that looked like a hotel, but was called the One Night Stand. Naruto knew what type of hotel it was and could tell Hinata knew too by the way she was blushing. Naruto then decided that it was time to take a step forward in their relationship. He dragged a reluctant Hinata to the hotel of erotic desire. "Naruto, I don't think I'm ready," said Hinata. "Don't worry, Hinata," said Naruto. "We're only going to spy on the two and take a picture of them in more intimate positions." Hinata sighed as Naruto pulled out the camera and said, "Don't you think they'd kill us if they found out?" "Don't worry, I'll hold them off while you run. But what about you? The only thing I care about is you being safe, Hinata," said Naruto putting his arms around her as he rested his chin on her head. She smelled nice, a lot like angels would smell like. He felt safe in this warmth that was her love for him. It made the sun seem as cold as a winter night and the only warmth that could sustain his life was hers. "Naruto-kun," said Hinata. Her words were like a redeeming light that brought him back from the pain. The siren song may have been better, but it would have never captured his heart like the sound of her spoken words. A minute later, the two walked up to a room where they think they had heard Anko moaning. They went onto the fire escape to get outside the window of the room where they were positive Anko and Keiji were in bed together in. They peeked into the window to see Anko on top of Keiji, rubbing on his naked chest. Naruto had felt disappointed that they had missed the show. Then Anko looked at Keiji with serious eye. "Why did Tsunade let you bring all of us here?" asked Anko. "It wasn't just to rain, Naruto, because then you could have done it without everyone else." "What's your main reason for being here?" "I'm now a Suna ninja," said Keiji. "Before I was once a Konoha ninja. I had learned from all sorts of teachers and one of them was yours, Orochimaru." I was part of an experiment myself in which I had to give up my right arm so I could take on another one developed from the tissue of dead wolves. I complied and was made even stronger, but I didn't know at the time what he would do with my arm. Orochimaru used my right arm to transform a dropout from the ninja academy named Kuwabara into me. It worked perfectly except that the clone was psychotic, killing people for fun. He's now been working for a man named Shishiwaka, someone who we know used to finance the Akatsuki. I was sent in by Lord Gaara to locate Kuwabara and take him out using any means necessary. I happened to be asking Tsunade-sama for a chance to bring you along for the vacation training, but she wouldn't allow me to do it without doing her a favor. Luck would have it that what she had in mind was the exact same thing I was ordered to do. I then asked for others to come along, people who Naruto would be familiar with and people who would be useful to my plans. I got it all. They don't call her the legendary sucker for nothing. So are we clear on our objectives, Naruto? I know you and Hinata are hiding on the fire escape to try and take pictures of us doing it, you pathetic loser. Anko saw a surprised Naruto and Hinata appear outside the window. Naruto looked horrified at Anko, whom he fully expected to come at him with a katana or a pair of kunai. Naruto apologized to both Keiji and Anko before he picked up Hinata and jumped off the fire escape. There he goes, the troublemaker, said Anko sighing. Then realization hit her like a brick. You knew they were out there the whole time and you just let them watch me do all that stuff to you. They missed out on our warm-up, and besides I needed Naruto to know our true mission. What do you mean by warm-up? Asked Anko, a devilish smile crossing her face. We have about an hour before we have to catch up with them and beat the shit out of Naruto. I wonder what we should do to pass the time. Any suggestions? I am open to most. Naruto noticed Gaara sitting at a restaurant talking to a cute girl with long flowing blue hair. They were chatting when Naruto and Hinata approached. Well, here's the escape artist, said Naruto. He found that Gaara, and everyone else for that matter, had ceased to be amazed at how much Naruto had turned his volume down. He was still loud, but not most of the time. Don't blame me if you can't use your special vanishing jutsu like me, said Gaara. I mean that should be second nature to you. I could have tripped Sasuke and ran while he got beat up, said Naruto. I didn't because the only thing that was going through my mind was that certain death was coming for me, and if I slowed even the slightest bit, then I would be killed. But anyway, that's all water under the bridge. Who is this friend of yours? This is one of my subordinates, Yukimura Rukia, a talented weapons special street, said Gaara. She's not like Tenten who carries those scrolls with weapons in them. She decides what weapons should be recommended for what missions, so we have weapons to be issued when needed. You two seem to be friendly, said Hinata. Have you two been going out on dates? We see each other now and then, but we've only just become close, said Rukia. I used to be scared of Gaara, but then when he took over as Cage, I got to know him better. I know what you mean, said Naruto. When I first met him, Gaara scared the shit out of me, especially his fight against Rock Lee. But then I realized that he and I were the same. We grew up in the same neighborhood, the same house, but I left that place, he stayed in it. He just needed someone to help him move away from that place. It was at that time that Keiji and Anko arrived with the secret intent to beat the fuck out of Naruto. Naruto was, of course, oblivious to the dangers that walked towards him. Keiji greeted Gaara with a, Lord Gaara, and gave Rukia a formal greeting. Naruto brought the two newcomers up to speed on what had been going on before they showed up. Hey Naruto, can I talk to you about the private mission? Asked Keiji. Sure, was the reply. As Naruto and Keiji left to go to some dark abandoned alley, Gaara pieced together the missing bits of info. How I lost to a doby like him I'll never know, thought Gaara. Hinata gave a worried look, but was somewhat relieved to find that Anko hadn't followed. It might be something else, like an actual discussion. He's going to beat the shit out of Naruto, right? Said Gaara. His suspicions were confirmed by a nod from Anko. What a baka. After being beaten to a bloody pulp and being revived by his girlfriend, Naruto searched through various shops for something for Hinata. He found a person who made special kimonos for customers, so he asked the tailor to make a kimono with a waterfall in the pale moonlight painting. The tailor told him to wait for 2 days. Naruto was certain that Hinata would like it, seeing as how they both enjoyed looking at the moonlight and she loved waterfalls. He had asked her to wait outside while he ordered the surprise present. When he walked out he found her nowhere in sight. Panic reached up into his mind, flooding his consciousness with images of men doing unspeakable acts of rape to her. A man in a business suit with black gloves on walked towards Naruto. "If you value the girl's life, then follow me," said the man in a cold tone of voice. Naruto knew he had no choice but to follow the man. He led him into a construction site, very original, filled with ninjas dressed in forest camouflage. Another man was standing there with slicked back black hair and a conservative black tuxedo. This was obviously Shishiwaka. "You, my boy, will be the bargaining chip we'll need against Keiji," said the man. "I'm Shishiwaka, but you can call me boss. If you want to make a profit out of this, then cooperate, but keep in mind that if you don't, your girl dies." Naruto knew exactly what to do and how to do it. He moved quickly to the holding Hinata and slipped a kunai into the guy's chest. After grabbing Hinata, he held her behind him while he fended off the attackers. Naruto moved faster than all of the ninjas combined, making this even easier. He then used a demonic jutsu to disappear in burst of flames with Hinata. He wound up behind Shishiwaka and without hesitation, Naruto knocked Shishiwaka out. The other ninja still moved towards, even if their employer wasn't conscious or was in enemy hands. "I guess he wasn't the big fish," said a voice. Naruto turned to see Keiji and Gaara standing on a beam while looking down on Naruto. "I guess Kuwabara is the root of all this." Gaara used sand coffin on half of the ninjas while Naruto pounded the rest into submission. It was question time and Shishiwaka had to answer for his mistakes. Naruto didn't care about that now. The only thing on his mind was focusing on was calming Hinata down. Ibiki would get the answers, but now Naruto wanted only to be with her. Hinata had stopped shaking when they were in bed, but now Naruto was worried about Hinata's safety. Had he just exposed his most precious person to danger? Her eyes were open and looking into his eye and by extension his soul. He reached down and kissed her passionately, his tongue exploring the inner mysteries of her mouth. Lust was now driving the night, but would this intimate act bring them closer? Naruto looked at Hinata as they dressed in the morning. They were both too embarrassed at the events of last night. An emotion was swelling inside them both, but they couldn't decide if it was regret or joy. Naruto scratched head nervously and said, "I won't be able to forget last night ever." "Me too," said Hinata in an equally nervous manner. Keiji gave Kuwabara a cold smile before disappearing and reappearing in front of Kuwabara with his sword in front of Kuwabara's neck. When the sword cut through the flesh, Kuwabara disappeared in smoke. "Damn a Bushin, this is one slippery son of a bitch," thought Keiji. Kuwabara then appeared flinging kunai at Keiji, who was also a Bushin. The real Keiji jumped out and created a second Bushin to attack from the front while he attacked from above. Kuwabara used his own katana to deflect the two attacks and found that his own swords were cracked from deflecting the two kusanagis. Kuwabara then used a water dragon missile jutsu that made a direct hit on Keiji. When the water had cleared, Keiji was still standing, covered in sand. "Is this the best you've got?" asked Keiji in a mocking tone. "You hit like a little bitch." It truly is pathetic how much Keiji's perfect genes have gone to waste. "Now I know why Orochimaru abandoned you so long ago. You may have Keiji's genes, but you will never be as strong as Keiji. You're a failure that should be wiped off the face of the earth." Kuwabara was pissed at the first sentence. Kuwabara said, "I didn't think I need to do this, but I need your help, Dojima." A masked man soon burst out of the sand with two daos, Chinese swords that were the bases for the katana, and rushed Keiji with tremendous speed. Keiji deflected the attacks and summoned another Bushin to hold off Kuwabara while he took on the more important threat. Keiji used a spinning sword technique to not only defend himself, but to also go on the attack. Just then the mysterious Dojima jumped back and thrusted his sword with godlike speed, only to be interrupted by a fist to the face. That fist belonged to Uzumaki Naruto. "Don't worry Keiji, I got this guy," said Naruto. He then used Kage Bushin no Jutsu to send his clones to attack his enemy while he powered up his Rasengan Shuriken. I forget the exact name. The attack broke both daos and severely wounded Dojima. "Now my turn to finish you," said Keiji. "I hope you're ready to summon an army, because if you don't, then pray you have a miracle. This is the end of your life, my prey." Keiji then released chakra throughout his body that covered it and shaped itself into a wolf form. The chakra solidified and became grayish fur. Keiji was now in the form of the Okami whose eye he had. Kuwabara couldn't move as looked in terror at the form that would mean his inevitable death. It was those eyes that caused the most terror. In them he saw a preview of what would happen to him, and none of it was good. The wolf took a step towards Kuwabara and then it shot chakra blasts out of its mouth. It then used its tails to wrap around Kuwabara and squeezed him until he felt an intense pain. Anko, who was standing on the sidelines, feared that Keiji had finally been consumed by his right eye the same way everyone feared the Kyuubi within Naruto would consume him. "Keiji," she cried. It was only then that the wolf simply decapitated Kuwabara with his claws. The chakra transformed back into its original form and was absorbed back into Keiji. His left eye was normal now and he had a sense of remorse on his face at the sight of the decapitated experiment, which had been born to kill. The Keiji they all knew and loved was back from his deep sleep. The first thing he did was walk up to Anko and put his arms around her. She kissed him, hungry for the taste of his lips. Keiji broke the kiss to see her face. He'd always found it cute the way she looked when she kissed. "I thought you were fully under the control of your eye," she said. "I thought that I had lost you forever, and I realized that more than ever, that I live for you." "O ye of little faith," he said. "I use the eye does not use me. Never will I be like that, and it's all because of the way you make me feel. You make not want to be as sadistic as my right eye or as heartless. If I had never met you, I would be something I'd hate. I live for you as much as you live for me. We live for each other, so we will never be apart for as long as we live." The two hugged each other and then they felt their stomachs growl. It was then that they heard everyone else's stomach growl. No one had eaten yet, so they were all very hungry. Even Choji hadn't eaten yet. "It's possible. I'll buy breakfast I guess," said Keiji. He noticed Choji jumping for joy. "Except for you, see Hoji. You pay for yourself. I didn't borrow that much money from Tsunade." "You borrowed money from Tsunade-sama," said Anko. "Are you sure she knows about seeing how money can just find its way into your pocket?" "Who cares as long as he treats us to breakfast," said Naruto. "And I know the perfect place where Gaara is taking his girlfriend." "Gaara has a girlfriend," said Kankuro. "This I got to see. The girls in the village are going to be jealous of her." "She is from the village," said Tamari, breaking from her conversation with Shikamaru. "How come you know, but I don't," said Kankuro. "You would have heard Gaara say it if you weren't trying to find the porn channels on TV," said Tamari. "Don't say that out loud," said Kankuro as he looked around. "She's just joking, she didn't really mean that." "Yeah, but you got to pay for those channels out of your own pocket," said Keiji. Tsunade decided to tell the manager of the cabins not to allow those channels without us paying because Kakashi and I read the Icha Icha series. "You read those filthy books?" asked Sakura. Kakashi sighed at having his favorite stories called filth for the umpteenth time. "Are you perverted or just completely vulgar?" "We read them for the relationships and the jokes," said Keiji. "I have the only woman I ever want to love, and Kakashi can get any woman he wanted just by showing his face. He's done that on a few occasions. The only reason you say that about the stories is because of your personal bias against all things with nudity and because it is different than what you're used to. You're being close-minded, which isn't good for smart people." "Can we go now?" said Choji, who was having trouble standing up due to hunger. He hadn't eaten in over 3 hours. Gaara wondered who it was that told them that they were going to be there. He decided that it had to be Naruto because Keiji was too loyal to him to do something like that, and Tamari didn't like interrupting someone's date. He and Rukia were having a quiet breakfast, looking into each other's eyes when he heard Choji shouting for joy that they had arrived. He knew it wasn't because Choji was looking for him. It was because Choji was hungry. He always was hungry. Honestly, Gaara didn't know what Ino saw in him. He tried to hide, but Naruto had noticed him before he could hide. "Hey, what are you doing, Gaara?" asked Naruto. "You looked like you were trying to hide." "I was trying to enjoy a nice and quiet breakfast with my girlfriend," said Gaara menacingly. "But it seems that you would rather ruin my plans by bringing everyone here." "Hey bro, you never told me you had a girlfriend," said Kankuro, leaning his arm on Gaara's shoulder. "You were too busy looking for porno on the TV," said Gaara. "I was not looking for porno. Why does everyone think that? I was just looking for HBO. That doesn't exist in this universe," said Gaara. "It doesn't. Okay, can everybody just shut up about the porn thing, okay?" asked Kankuro. "And I thought the Arrow Sennin was the only pervert," said Naruto. "What about Kakashi?" asked Kankuro. He reads those perverted books. How do we know he wasn't looking for porn? Because all he did was read those books and talk to Kurenai, said Mike Guy, who was knocked out by one of Keiji's punches. Use your inside voice, you crazy crackhead, said Keiji. Who let you off your leash anyway? I could have sworn I had you tied up in chains. That was a great exercise you gave me, said Guy. Anyway, Kakashi and Kurenai seem to be getting close. By the way, I'm not on crack. I've been taking care of her and the baby, said Kakashi. Kurenai had a child from her late husband Sarutobi Asuma. I babysit when she's on a mission or just needs some help. We're just friends, besides I have someone already. Really, who? Said his 3 former students, Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke. That's a bit private, said Kakashi. PWEAs, they said with puppy dog eyes. A Yame from Ichiruka Ramen. I knew it, said Naruto. The way you and her look at each other, it was destined for you two to fall in love. Wait a minute, you got to be 10 years older than her. Is that a problem? Said Kakashi dangerously. No, said Naruto, afraid of what Kakashi would do to him if he said yes. Well, looks like I finally found you, Keiji, said a voice. Keiji turned to see Tsunade with Jiraiya. He said, Hokage, are you dating that Tsukubi? Jiraiya looked hopefully at Tsunade, who just said, hell no. Then why are you her? Said Keiji. I was just about to treat everyone to breakfast when you showed up. Were you planning to use the money you took? Said Tsunade, her voice giving away the fact that she was pissed. She saw Anko cracking her knuckles while looking dangerously at Keiji. Now ladies, I can explain everything, said Keiji in the same nervous manner you'd hear a man would use when trying to explain to his wife why his wallet was at another woman's house. The women didn't want to hear it and dragged him into an alley as he kicked and screamed for help. Everyone just said a funeral prayer for Keiji as he was severely beaten by the combined forces of Anko and Tsunade. Naruto and Hinata were sitting across from each other, which gave Naruto the idea to take a piece of his omelet and feed it Hinata. Everyone else at the table stopped and looked at Naruto, who had forgotten they were there, and Hinata, who was a bit embarrassed that he did that, but still thought it was romantic. Keiji flicked the waitress a coin and told her to put a specific Rod Stewart song on. What are you doing? Asked Naruto. It's not what I'm doing, but what you've been doing at night, replied Keiji. The song was Do You Think I'm Why? Telling the story of 2 people hooking up and spending the night. The couple turned completely red and Naruto decided to fight fire with fire. Oh yeah, well why don't you Anko get married considering all that you do every night, said Naruto. I wonder if you can keep up with her appetites. Anko was about to kill Naruto, but was stopped by Keiji, who said, I think he's right about something. He got down on one knee and handed her an open box. Inside was a ring. Anko, I don't know anyone else I'd want to settle down with, said Keiji. Will you let me be by your side until death do us part? She wrapped her arms around his neck with joy and almost accidentally strangled him. She kissed him over and over while saying, yes. Well, looks like you two were fucked up for each other, said Naruto laughing. They both looked at him with eyes of death. Naruto, they both said dangerously. Breakfast ended with a trip to the hospital where Tsunade helped heal Naruto's wounds at the constant begging of Hinata. When Naruto woke up, he saw Hinata sleeping in a chair next to his bed. He found he could move as normally as he did before the near-death experience. Hinata woke up to the feeling of Naruto's lips on hers. They were in her room in the cabin. Keiji said it was alright for her to put him there since they were already so intimate and also because Kakashi would prevent Neji from hurting Naruto. She pushed him back onto the bed. You should get more rest, she said. Don't worry, I'm fine, said Naruto. He was surprised when he saw her stripped to her underwear. It was then that he noticed that he was wearing only black boxers with a spiral on the right side. Here, let me help you rest, she said. Her soft voice was working its magic on Naruto, who was now at her beck and call. I'd like to see you try, he said. Naruto and Hinata woke up early in the morning to the sound of panting and moaning. The sound wasn't Keiji and Anko like it usually was, instead it sounded like Sasuke and Sakura. The couple giggled at the volume of Sakura's moans, which were steadily becoming screams. They got out of bed and showered together. It was all that screaming that put Naruto in the mood. That and Hinata letting her long hair flow in the shower. He hugged her from behind and grabbed one of her s. He played with it while kissing the back of her neck. She let out a moan that just happened to be picked up on Neji's sonar. "What are you two doing in there?" asked Neji as he pounded on the door to their room. "What do you think, Baka?" said Sasuke, who thought Neji was talking to him. "I'm not talking to you, Uchiha, so why don't you just continue to not satisfy your girlfriend," said Neji. "You're just jealous that you're not this close to Tenten," said Sasuke in retaliation. This woke Tenten up, who walked out into the hallway in her underwear, forgetting that she and Neji had only gotten that far the previous night. The sight of Tenten, the girl who made him hard, Neji had a nosebleed. "You were too afraid to go the distance, Hyuga," said Sasuke, working the upper body. This brought Neji out of his fantasies of Tenten naked, at which Neji wondered why he was falling prey to such thoughts after years of containing them. After pondering about this, he grew angry from the Uchiha's comments and went to beat him up. Tenten, of course, stopped him from going into the room because Sasuke hadn't stopped in his thrusts, a fact supported by Sakura's moans. "Neji, they're still going at it," cried Tenten. "Why don't you let him in?" said Sasuke. "Let him see what a real man looks like when he has balls." "I'm going to kill you," said Neji. "I'm going to rip your nuts off and shove them down your throat." "I'm sure you'd want to put nuts down a boy's throat, queer," said Sasuke. "Shut up and fuck me, Baka," shouted Sakura. Naruto was happy that Sasuke had taken the heat off him so he could finish. He kissed her lips, then her neck, then her ass, and he kept getting lower and lower. He kissed her down there, making her legs weak. Next he used his tongue to get her up on par with his UAL drive. She stifled her screams knowing that Neji was still in sonar range. "Why the hell is listening to us?" thought Hinata. It was hard for her to stifle the screams she wanted to let loose at the feeling of his tongue on her gentle spot. He stopped and then stood up. He had grown tall since the time he left for 3 years. She now had to look up to him when she talked to them. He then pushed her against the wall and let loose a torrent of kisses all over her upper body. Then he entered the warmth between her legs and the two melted into each other. They screamed and outside Neji could hear them. Naruto met with Keiji at the place where they promised to meet up to check in on the summons. Naruto felt like he had put that off for a long time. He bit his thumb and tasted the blood as he summoned all the clan leaders. King Enma wasn't the leader of his clan, surprisingly. The honor belonged to his father's son Wukong. The last to be summoned was the Manda clan. "Who the hell called me here?" asked the hissing, pissed of giant snake. "I did," said Naruto. "I'm the new Kyuubi, which means you. All of you answer to me." "My mistake, sir," said Manda. "I believe the murderer of my son's partner is still alive," said Wukong looking at Manda. "Isn't that right, Manda?" "He hasn't summoned me yet," replied Manda. "Besides, it was Sarutobi's fault for not killing him when he should have. He paid for not doing everything that is necessary. I hope you weren't trying to pick a fight though. Why fight you when I could have easily made a wallet out of you? Don't talk me like that, you damn ape. You want to taste my cudgel, then bring it on, you slimy, slippery, ugly motherfucker." "Come on, both of you, calm down," said Naruto, who immediately switched tactics after seeing his words didn't work. "Look, if you two don't want me to go demon fox on your ass, then shut the fuck up and listen to me." After these words, no one dared to talk while Naruto was talking. He decided to set up someone from the Kitsune clan to keep things in order according to his rules, but mostly keeping things the way they were. If it wasn't broken, then don't try to fix it. After the meeting, he dismissed everyone except for Gamabunta. "You wanted to see me, Oyabun?" asked Gamabunta. "It's awkward to have you call me that now," said Naruto. "I guess I have to have you call me that, but I think of you as more of a friend. I've heard from the Kitsunes that you have a girlfriend. How the hell do they know that?" "Your friend Keiji has ties with the Okami clan, who talks to the Kitsunes, so word gets around about you." "I didn't know they'd tell the Kitsunes," said Keiji. "I just talk with my summons and tell them about my surroundings." "You also serve the Shukaku," said Gamabunta. "Yes, but the Tanukis don't mouth off as much." Keiji got out of the shower and picked out his clothes for going out to eat with everybody. From what he heard, Naruto and Hinata weren't the only ones who had gotten intimate. Sasuke and Sakura had already crossed that line, as had Kankuro and his right hand. Over breakfast that morning, Tamari told everyone how she'd walked in on Kanekuro while he was watching porn and masturbating. Keiji, Neji, Gaara, Sasuke, Shino, and Kakashi thought it was too much information. Keiji had chosen a buttoned gray shirt over a black sleeveless shirt with black pants. He saw Anko put on the summer kimono that he'd bought her. Everyone save for Keiji would be wearing one. Naruto had handed Hinata the one he bought for at breakfast while she gave him one that she had bought for him. It was white with a fox and toad on it that seemed to be dancing in fire designs. Anko had a blue kimono that had simple designs on them, since she knew that she could wear the fishnets under them. Everyone save for Hinata and Naruto had simple kimonos, but then again kimonos weren't meant to have such elaborate designs on them. Keiji licked her ear and was just about to undress her when there was a knock at the door. It was Tsunade. "Lady Tsunade, how may I help you?" said Keiji. "I came to tell you something about your family," said Tsunade. "The person who accused you father was your grandmother on your mother's side. Those men who killed your mother were your grandfather's men. Your mother had disobeyed his wishes and so he told the Hokage that your father's clan was planning treachery. He convinced other shinobi and villagers of this and they were all killed in a riot outside of their compound. The third Hokage decided that this would be kept from you since your grandfather's spine was broken and he was left a vegetable as punishment." "Who broke his spine?" asked Keiji. "Orochimaru," said Tsunade. It made Keiji question his own feelings towards his one-time sensei. He decided that he would decide later if he was friendly towards him. "Is he still alive?" asked Keiji. Tsunade nodded her head. "Good. Now he'll suffer as much as I suffered growing up before I met Anko." "Will that satisfy you?" asked Tsunade. "I was already satisfied," replied Keiji, who just walked out the room with Anko in hand. Kiba woke up and felt like dog shit on a hot sidewalk. The room was burning hot and he could hear people calling out his name from a distance. The voices got closer and closer until finally reality set back in. It was Hinata, Naruto, Keiji, Kurenai, Anko, Kakashi, and Tsunade that had been calling his name. He immediately felt a pain in his ass. "What the fuck did I do last night?" said Kiba. "You weren't intimate with a guy," said Keiji. "The sores would be from you sitting on a pole. Can you tell us what happened from the beginning?" said Tsunade. Flashback. Kiba was feeling down at failing to win Hinata's heart. He was cool with Naruto and her being together, or at least he thought he was. But then when he found out that they had already had and he knew that now his chances of taking Hinata from Naruto had gone so far down it wasn't even possible in his dreams. He'd always been there to support her, but he realized how different they were in terms of souls. Kiba was never thought of as a loser and he was never looked down upon like Naruto and Hinata. He could never give her strength because he had never experienced her pain. Girl you love is screwing some other guy, so what do? You go to the nearest bar and drink till you don't feel feelings anymore. Flashback ends. "You're not 20, said Tsunade. "How could you get drunk?" "There are some people who don't ask for proof of age," said Kiba. "It was so easy to get drunk, but nothing seemed to satisfy me." "It hurts that much," said Naruto. He wasn't making a question, more of a statement about how much it hurt to be lonely. "Well, I guess I took a walk in your shoes," said Kiba. "I'm sorry to have caused you pain," said Hinata. "I always knew how you felt, but I could only see you as a friend." "I know, and that's how I want it to be," said Kiba. "I realize that it's the one place I'm happy to be in a relationship with you." "But what happened after you got drunk?" said Tsunade. Flashback. Kiba felt his mind bounce around his skull as it continued to lose equilibrium with each swallow of sake. He felt a hand on his shoulder and turned around to see Shino. "You shouldn't drink when you're underage," said Shino. "Anyway, you don't want to show up for dinner drunk, do you?" "I'll show up for dinner anyway. I want if I go to dinner with you guys," said Kiba, annoyed at his teammate who was always quiet. "Come on, let's go find you a girl," said Shino, who noticed Kiba's puzzled looks. "I know that you're drinking because you wanted to be with Hinata. I know you wanted to fuck her, but she is with Naruto, a fact that you must come to terms with and move on with your goddamn life. For 3 days I've had to put up with that constant moping around crap that you do." Sasuke gets all emo pansy when he thinks about his family, but that's a legitimate excuse. "You have not one good fucking excuse to be this way, so find a girl and talk to me until you feel better." Kiba finally got up and walked with Shino to find a girl that he'd like. Their first stop was to head to the boardwalk near the beach. They came across a tunnel that had no lights in it and was as dark as night. "Jesus, that is one creepy tunnel," said Kiba. "Yes, sort of reminds of your sister for some reason," said Shino while he walked off. "There's some kind of story about that tunnel," said Kiba. "Years ago, people went, but they didn't come out, not unlike your sister." "What the hell is with those sister jokes? Get off my sister, and what do you have against her anyway?" I was trying to give you hints, said Shino. But I guess I'll have to tell you anyway. Me and your sister are seeing each other. What? Asked Kiba, puzzled at his teammate's words. My sister is way older than you by like 10 years. Actually, I'm a lot older than you think, said Shino. I was in a cocoon for 10 years during when I was born. It's the way all Abarames are born. I met your sister at a party once and I was attracted by her intelligence, which I think she got most of and left you with little, as well as by her grace. We started seeing each other and one night it just happened. You go to parties like a normal person, asked Kiba. Something about that just pisses me off for some reason, but yes I do go to parties when you stay home and play video games. Before Kiba could respond to a man he thought he once knew, a girl appeared before them. She had auburn hair with green eyes that looked like a cat's eye. From the way she stood she might as well have had "tomboy" labeled on her. Her face was beautiful and could have been cute if she acted more delicate. Another factor that made Kiba blush at the sight of her was the fact that she was wearing short clothing that might as well be underwear. Her shorts were 7 inches in length and her shirt was clinging to her body. She looked at Shino, then at Kiba. Hey dog boy, have you seen a cat around here by any chance? Asked the girl. Who you calling dog boy, sluttish dresser? Said Kiba. This was actually the way that wars could be started. I know your dog ate my cat, said the girl. You evil cat hater, and how dare you call me that? How dare you accuse Akamaru, I forget how to spell the dog's name, of eating your cat, said Kiba. Now that I think about, the dog is bigger than him, so how the hell did they get him on the plane? He may be big, but he doesn't eat cats. Oh, and by the way, 7-inch bike shorts are really sluttish. The two then noticed Shino leaving, at which Kiba called, Hey, where are you going? One idiot is enough, but two give migraine headaches, said Shino as he walked away, leaving the two to turn all that hate they had for each other towards Shino. Get back here, you creepy looking stalker guy, said the girl. Yeah, just walk away Shino, said Kiba. That's what you always do, bug boy. When they had finished trying to verbally attack Shino, they turned their attention towards each other. So what does your cat look like? Asked Kiba, now trying to be friendly. It looks a lot like that one up in the tree, said the girl. I'll get it, said Kiba with a sigh, as if it was some duty that he was obliged to do. The girl was so happy to have her cat back that she kissed Kiba on the cheek. It was nothing, said Kiba, blushing. I like helping beautiful women in distress. Oh, that is so sweet of you, said the girl. Are you doing anything later? Because if you aren't, then will you have dinner with me? Sure, said Kiba nervously. Flashback ends. I thought that you'd go with that girl, said Shino, who surprised Kiba, Hinata, and Kurenai. When did you get in here? Asked Kurenai. When Kiba was the part about the bar, said Naruto. His sense of smell and hearing had been boosted due to the Kyuubi. Anyway, you missed out on a fun dinner. You should hear Keiji sing Closer. You could tell who he was singing to, right Anko? That's none of your damn business, you little brat, said Anko, who could throw a punch in the blink of an eye when angry. Anyway, at the dinner it was revealed that you are now all Junin. You will be a hunter. Do you really mean that? Said Kiba. Ask Keiji, said Anko. Where is Keiji? Asked Kiba. It was then that everyone save for Naruto realized that Keiji wasn't in the room. He said he had to take a walk, said Naruto. Keiji stared at the person who asked to meet him. So what do you have to tell me, Orochimaru? Said Keiji. Orochimaru smiled his evil smile while he patiently waited for Keiji to sit down. He had waited for this moment, to finally have a peace offering to one of his former students. You know, what the Hokage doesn't realize is that your grandfather isn't the one they have in the hospital, said Orochimaru, who stepped aside to reveal an old man tied to a chair. I thought you might like this, so I found him for you. What do you want in return? Asked Keiji. I don't want to have to worry about you or the person you have outside, said Orochimaru. You can come in now, Tsunade. Tsunade stepped into the door, glaring at her old teammate with eyes of hate. This just made Orochimaru laugh. He'd always loved that glare of hers. She didn't look as old as she really was, but then again neither did he. What makes you think that this is going to get you out of the bingo book? Asked Tsunade. I think this will get me out of the bingo book because this is the mastermind behind the Akatsuki, said Orochimaru. I'll tell you right now that I have lost all interest in destroying Konoha. Right now I just want to do what I wanted to do when I was a kid. Find my parents' reincarnations. I found my father's but not my mother's reincarnation. I know what you're thinking. How can we trust this crazy bastard? Well, you don't have to trust me. Just give me breathing room and I'll make an alliance with Konoha. This sounds too good to be true, said Keiji. We have the mastermind behind the Akatsuki and the biggest threat to Konoha wants an alliance. It really is too bad that I don't care about my grandfather anymore, but now that he's here I think I'll ask Ibiki to be extra serious. How's Anko by the way, said Orochimaru surprising Keiji. She was my favorite student, sorry, but I really did like her. Though you had a sadistic streak and could have just as easily come with me as Sasuke, she had a stronger will than most. Even though I was disappointed, I was a bit proud that she made her own choice based on what she felt. I find that so many others are blinded by my reputation, but not her. She's engaged to me, said Keiji. She's also standing right behind you, said Orochimaru in a matter-of-fact way. Keiji turned to see Anko standing in the doorway. Her eyes showed that she was confused on how she should think about her old sensei. She finally decided to be a bit angry at him for the cursed mark on her neck. You did well at hiding, said Orochimaru. I only just recognized you and I'm looking in your direction. I learned from a man who does nothing but hide, she said, adding extra amounts of venom to the end. Ouch, that hurts, said Orochimaru. I guess I deserved that and a lot more. His words surprised everyone. No one expected those words to ever come from Orochimaru's mouth. I feel sorry for hurting my favorite student and pushing her away to pursue strange experiments, said Orochimaru. Keiji corrected him saying that they were sick, not strange experiments. I don't care what you call them, I'm only sorry that I lost Anko because of them and I want to make it up. Oh really, how about giving me my life back and taking this curse mark back, said Anko. I can fulfill the latter, but I can't give you back your life, said Orochimaru. I can thank the person who did though. Thank you Keiji for undoing what I should not have done. Orochimaru's neck got longer, a move that everyone was familiar with. Keiji was about to cut Orochimaru in two, but Anko stopped him by holding his arm. He had no other choice but to trust Orochimaru not to hurt Anko, and if he did, the hell he would be sent to would be like heaven when Keiji was finished with him. Orochimaru's head lunged at Anko, stopping within a centimeter of her neck. This may hurt a bit, so prepare yourself, said the Sannin. He then sunk his teeth into her flesh only to hear her give out a scream of pain. Keiji didn't know what happened next. One minute he saw Anko in pain, the next he was punching Orochimaru over and over again. He stopped and saw the bruises that were left on Orochimaru's face and helped him up to his feet. He could have killed the man and all he did was cure his fiancée. Life sucks that way. Anko got up and looked at Keiji rubbing the spot on her neck. Keiji removed her hand from the spot and saw that the mark was gone. He sighed in relief that Anko was now free from her disease. He touched his eye patch and wondered if his right eye wasn't so different from the curse mark. That was an answer for another day. So do you accept my surrender? Asked Orochimaru. If you agree never to harm Konoha, said Tsunade, dangerously making it clear that if he ever tried anything he would be dead. That is the only way I'll accept your terms. Agreed, said Orochimaru. There will be peace between leaf and sound while we live. War and chaos are too. What does that Nara boy say? Troublesome. Now I believe I should remove Sasuke-kun's curse mark. Keiji watched him leave and noticed that Anko had passed out. He noticed how cute she looked when she was sleeping. He wondered why it was that luck had turned in his favor, but as always, he would enjoy it while he could. He laid her down on their bed and kissed her good night while he went to check on the group. When he got downstairs he realized the only people not in the group were Naruto, Hinata, Shikamaru, and Temari. I think I know what they're doing right now, thought Keiji. It was then that heard the moans and he distinctively heard someone say, "Damn woman, you ray just troublesome." Naruto and Hinata sat on the beach looking at the moon and stars while listening to the calm sound of the ocean pounding on the shore. This was where, more than ever, Naruto wanted to be. He didn't know what lay in the future except that as long as it was with Hinata he would face it gladly. All he had to do was make sure that it was with Hinata. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a box. "Hinata," said Naruto, "I know your father won't let us marry until I'm 21, but I thought I'd give you this. A promise ring, so that you'll know that we're always meant to marry each other. There is no other person I want to marry than you." Hinata blushed and accepted the ring with a kiss, and the two laid down on the beach to make love on the shore, barely noticing that Jiraiya was looking out the window at them while writing on his notepad. "Will you stop being a Tsukubi for one night?" said Tsunade. It was thing that made him unattractive to her. I don't do it to drool it anymore, said Jiraiya. It pays the bills, but if I were given a full-time job I might stop. Or you could just try to persuade me. No chance in hell, said Tsunade, who got his message clear. He was asking her out. Who would want to go out with a Tsukubi like you? My dear Tsunade, you'd be surprised, he said with a laugh. Shino woke up to find another person in his bed. He realized that it was none other than Kiba's sister Inuzuka Hana. She hadn't seen his eyes and he didn't want her to believing that it would drive her away. What he didn't know was that she was constantly trying to see his eyes and started to enter his bed, hoping to see him when he woke up. She always took his shades off because he would wear them to bed and they constantly interfered with her goals. Hana wouldn't do something like take them off and stomp on them like she once heard her brother Kiba do. The only problem was that he always woke up before her, but she had come to love it because he would always make breakfast for her. By the way, minor note from the author. Hana and Shino are not 10 years older, in fact I believe they are 3 years older than Kiba and the rest. When did you get here? Asked Shino after putting on his glasses. Did you get a vacation from the Hokage? My brother received a wedding invitation and so did you, said Hana. Kiba's bringing his girlfriend to the wedding and I thought I'd be your date. That sounds good, said Shino. He'd forgotten that Keiji had already had everything prepared beforehand since he knew that Anko would say yes. He also knew that he could use the honeymoon as an excuse to lengthen the trip. Should we have breakfast or should we just lay here in bed? I want to stay in bed, but I think I want to do something else than lie down, said Hana with a seductive ring in her voice. Shino was already halfway there, kissing her on the lips and unbuttoning her pajama shirt. He kissed her stomach and moved down towards her navel. His tongue licked all around it, causing her to moan. He then removed her pajama bottoms, looking at her silken baby blue panties. He loved it more when she had red panties because he felt like it went with her personality and made their wilder. Shino was an entirely different person when they had. All images of him being the silent type were shattered when they made love. He had ripped her panties off the first 2 times they'd had, which had surprised her to no end. Before he actually entered her he removed her bra and played with her ass, licking each tip. He had just entered her when the door opened and whom would you believe just happened to enter the room but Kiba. Kiba's expression at seeing his sister in bed with another man, his teammate, while they were going at it, was pure and utter shock with a dash of disturbed. Shino and Hana looked at Kiba, who had gone blind momentarily, walk out of the room shuddering and rambling gibberish. Do you think I should go take a look at him? Asked Hana. I think your presence might cause him to remember this, said Shino. The most logical thing is to finish and see if we could get Keiji or Kurenai to help him forget this. I guess it sounds logical, said Hana. Now where were we exactly? Naruto and Hinata were chatting with Kiba's new girlfriend, Nishino, when they saw Kiba stumbling down the stairs dazed and running into any and everything. At first Naruto waited to see what would happen next, but when Hinata voiced her concern, Naruto decided to help his friend. After Kiba was restrained to a chair for his own safety, Naruto called Keiji and brought him down to check on Kiba. What happened to him? Asked Naruto. Was he hit with a genjutsu or something? No, he saw his sister and Shino having, replied Keiji. I heard moaning from Shino's room and I knew that Kiba's sister got in last night. How do you where people are and stuff? Asked Naruto. You're the only one to be able to notice me when I'm sneaking. I was able to use a jutsu to hide myself from Neiji's Byakugan. His eye is derived from the eyes of the Okami, answered Keiji. His sight can't be compared to mine. Even the Sharingan is powerless against my eye in any form. What you used against Neji was a regular jutsu that, even though it's a high level, doesn't pull the wall over my eyes. The Kyuubi, being the prankster that foxes are, developed a jutsu to do just that. I've never had it tested against my eye, but I think it should work, but since it's a genjutsu I can just cast release constantly at no cost of chakra. Let's face it, you can't catch me in my intimate moments, you sick freak. Oh please, like you're the best, said Naruto. And I've seen Anko naked before and she has nothing on Hinata. Also she makes the cutest sounds when we make love. Hinata, blushing furiously, punched Naruto on the back of the head and shouted, "Baka," as she stormed off. Naruto realized how bad he had just fucked up with Hinata. He spent the good part of the hour pacing around the room trying to figure out what to do to mend his relationship with Hinata. Anko had walked down and saw the puzzling sight of Naruto pacing across the floor of the cabin. What the hell is going on? Asked Anko. Naruto said some things that he shouldn't have, said Keiji. It started when Kiba saw his sister and Shino getting it on. The kid was so disturbed that he lost all his vision and equilibrium. Naruto and Hinata were chatting Dog Boy's girlfriend when he came down the stairs, nearly falling down and breaking his neck. They came and got me, but I knew everything already, which amazed Naruto, and he asked me how I knew. I told him that it was because of my right eye and that he wouldn't be able to try to sneak while we're having. He shot back by saying that your body wasn't special compared with Hinata, and then made a comment about the cute noises she makes when they have. She was pissed to say the least. Baka, said Anko, shaking her head. My body could trump any other woman, but that's beside the point. He should know what not to say and at what time to say certain things. These mistakes have broken relationships forever. Naruto paled at these words and asked, "Are you serious?" "It's a proven fact," said Tamari, who walked down the stairs with Shikimori. She was leaning onto him uncharacteristically. "Did you guys have that problem?" asked Naruto. "Actually, they just heated up their relationship last night," said Keiji while reading the paper in the famous Kakashi style. "What do you mean by that?" said the couple together. "As I recall, I heard moans from a bedroom and someone saying, 'So troublesome,'" said Keiji. Now the only people not getting any are Choji, Ino, Neji, Tenten, Kiba, his girlfriend, and Rock Lee. "What about Kankuro?" asked Gaara, who had appeared out of virtually nowhere. It was obvious that he had just teleported himself and his girlfriend into the room indicated by the sand on the floor. "I don't think we want to know," said Kakashi, coming down the stairs followed by Kurenai, Tsunade, Jiraiya, Rock Lee, and Might Guy. "What are you guys doing over here?" asked Naruto. "We had a toast at the success with the Sound Village," replied Tsunade. Guy brought Rock Lee for some reason. She turned around to look and they were hugging with the sunset in the background. It was 10 in the morning and once again, they were inside. Where in the hell did they get that damn sunrise, and is it me or is that hug getting tighter each time, thought Tsunade. Everyone else sweat dropped and Keiji felt that it had a deeper creepy meaning which he didn't want to know. "Anyway, we have come to help with your problem," said Jiraiya. "Well, actually only me, the rest came for breakfast which Keiji was supposed to make." "Well, why don't we celebrate Kakashi being on time for something without being tricked," said Keiji. "But what about my problem?" asked Naruto. "I can't get help from Ero Sennin, he doesn't know anything about romance." "Well, we would normally care, but Jiraiya can be knowledgeable about these things sometimes." "Alright Ero Sennin, what do you think I should do?" asked Naruto with hope in his eyes. Jiraiya was tempted to crush that hope, but he was so sure that Tsunade would crush him, so that option was out of the question. He thought about all the relationships he'd ever been in, the both of them, and felt that he had the answer in his experience with Tsunade. "Look kid, just tell her how sorry you are and how much you're hurt that they're hurt," said Jiraiya. "Tell her how you wanted to say that because you don't want her to go." "Are you sure?" asked Naruto. He still didn't trust the perverted Sannin, but it was the only help he could get. "If you want to wing it by yourself then good luck," said Jiraiya, walking off. Naruto searched everywhere on the beach, looking for Hinata. After 2 hours he was afraid that she might have gone back home, but realized how stupid that sounded. It was just fear of losing everything good in his life that was eating away at the back of his mind. His stomach growled and he tried to ignore it at first, but it made it clear that it wouldn't be ignored. Luckily for Naruto, there was a restaurant only a block away. He staggered inside and sat at the bar. After realizing that he wasn't at a table, Naruto looked for a table and saw Hinata sitting by herself in a booth. Joy flooded through him as he walked up to her table and just stood there. Hinata noticed him standing there smiling at her and decided that she was still a bit mad at him. "What do you want, Naruto?" said Hinata, leaving out the kun. "I was wondering if I could sit here, Hinata-chan," said Naruto. "I wanted to apologize to you, Hinata-chan. I'm sorry for embarrassing you, and even though I can't guarantee that it won't happen again, I will try to make sure it never happens again. I don't want to lose you because you are everything that's good in my life." "Sure, you can sit here, Naruto-kun," said Hinata. "Just try not to make a habit of saying things like that. It's embarrassing when you try to compare me to more beautiful women." "Hinata, there is no one who can top you," said Naruto. "They may think they do, but they ruin it with self-confidence while you don't try to be too beautiful, you just try to be you. I love that about you." to split an omelette while they talked about how to help Kiba and what they should wear to the summer festival. Shikamaru sighed as Tamari, who always acted like a kid when she went to summer festivals, dragged him to different booths. They both wore gray kimonos, an idea that was suggested, forced, by Tamari. Naruto and Hinata both wore black kimonos with silver designs on them with a spiral right between the shoulder blades. Keiji and Anko wore kimonos similar to the young couple, but had red designs instead of silver. Sasuke and Sakura wore kimonos with the Uchiha crest on them. Neji and Tenten, however, didn't wear similar colors. The biggest surprise was Tsunade and Jiraiya wearing the same blue kimonos while walking together. "When did this happen?" asked Naruto. Everyone else had resisted the urge except for Kiba, who wasn't paying attention at all. "He can be quite charming when he's not being a pervert," admitted Tsunade. "He promised to stop peeking into the women's onsen again." "Don't worry, I have enough research for a lifetime," said Jiraiya, much to the relief of Kakashi and Keiji, both being avid fans of the series. "Who is Fuma? Just who the hell are you?" asked Keiji. He looked at the man standing near the bed Anko was sleeping in. The man had a scar on his lip and cheek that made him look hideous. His blue hair was tied into a long ponytail and his eyes were piss yellow. "My name is Fuma," replied the man. "You may not hear this often, but I was the other baby in our mother's wound. I was the one that Konoha didn't capture and was saved by grandfather. You may think he's with Ibiki, but I've just retrieved him. I have a message from him. He will forgive you if you abandon this petty obsession with this woman and return to him." Keiji laughed out loud, much to Fuma's surprise. Keiji stared at him with cold eyes and said, "That piece of rat shit killed all of our father's clan and killed our mother. Why the hell do you serve him? Our mother paid the price for disloyalty and so will you if you don't agree to everything right now," replied Fuma in an equally cold tone. "Fuck you," said Keiji. Fuma, seeing no point in arguing, thrust his sword right into Keiji's stomach. Keiji looked surprised at which the speed this man moved at to be able to outdo him. Keiji slumped a bit, but a grin spread across his face and he removed his eye patch. Fuma was terrified by the yes that stared at him now. They were both red wolf eyes that had stares that could destroy armies. He felt his sword move as Keiji grabbed it with his right and broke the katana in two. "If you think that will kill me, then you must have shit for brain after all," said the bloodthirsty Keiji. "I thought it was brainwashing, but you must have shit in your skull." "What the hell are you, brother?" asked Fuma in terror. "I'm not your brother," said Keiji. "I'm his right eye taking control of his body to help out. Now where is his grandfather? I wish to kill the fucker." "I'm right here," said a voice. Keiji turned to see the old man in shinobi clothing holding a sword. The mere sight of him pissed Keiji off to no end. It seems that the madness inside has finally taken over. Pity that the only grandson with any potential has a wild side. "Looks like you both are just as worthless as your mother." "Grandfather, what should I do?" asked Fuma, still too blind to realize that he was being used the whole time. "Die," said the grandfather as his katana pierced Fuma's heart. "You are of no use to me anymore." Keiji, who had had enough of this, knocked his grandfather back, who was surprised that his grandson still had the strength and speed. The old man was underestimating Keiji, and with things this far in the battle it was a mistake. It was then that the old man called upon his summon for help. It was a large dog that had black fur and had teeth the size of katanas. "Go forth and rip him limb from limb," said the old man. "No, he will not," said a voice that belonged to Naruto. The rookie Junin had heard the sounds of combat coming from the cabin and went to investigate. Everyone else was at a party on the boardwalk. "I know that his dog clan falls under my jurisdiction, so I control him and not you. You Kyuubi brat don't interfere in others' affairs," said the old man. He struck at Naruto with his swords, but it was parried by Naruto's own katana. "Insolent cur, you will pay for getting in my way. All you've done successfully seems to be talking," said Naruto. "I wonder, do you intend bore me into submission with all your sermons?" This angered the old man more, who took a second sword and rushed to attack Naruto. Once again, he had underestimated his opponent, because Naruto's speed exceeded the old man's. As soon as the old man thrust his sword at Naruto, Naruto grabbed his sword arm and kicked him the stomach repeatedly until he threw up. Keiji was trying to heal his brother's wounds, but to no avail. The blade had pierced his heart and he didn't know how to treat wounds of this magnitude. All he could do was watch helplessly as life started to leave his brother. It was painful for Fuma, who just wanted it all to end. He had been living a lie like some pathetic puppet on a string. He was worse than that because the puppeteer had been none other than the man who was the reason that his parents were dead and his father's clan nearly extinct. "Please end it, brother," pleaded Fuma while feeling another wave of pain. "Shut up, I'll help you," said Keiji. He didn't want to be the only person of the Keiji clan left. "You still owe me for the wound in my stomach, so stay alive for me." "I don't want to be the only Keiji left. I have something to tell you," said Fuma. "The name mother was going to give you, she told it to grandfather. Maeda. Your full name is Keiji Maeda. In my pocket, there's a potion to awaken the woman you love. I gave her a poison that would put her in a deep sleep." "Fuma," shouted Keiji. Fuma didn't answer, he never would. "No, don't go. Not again." A black chakra started to surround Keiji as his claws got longer and so did his teeth. He felt his body change with the chakra as it formed into a wolf shape and solidified like in the battle with Kuwabara, except this time, Keiji was in full control. Rage was pounding at his brain, making him forget about everything except the person he wanted to kill. Keiji summoned up all killing intent by stripping himself down to a simple thought process. When he brought out Kusanagi, the sword pulsed with the intent to kill. The noise it made as it swished through the air sounded like someone saying, "Kill, kill, and kill." Naruto looked at the slumbering Keiji, who was wincing in high sleep as if he was having a dream of being ripped apart, piece by piece. The carnage and blood that was caused by that man didn't fit the image of him, but it just showed Naruto how much emotional pain he had inside of him. He had lived like Naruto used to live for so long, but now he had surpassed anyone in emotional suffering. Just the image of Keiji as he cut through the old man with his first lightning-fast stroke gave Naruto the chills. There was so much blood, and when Keiji raised his sword again, there was only more. When the old man was nothing but mounds of flesh and bone, Keiji seemed to regain himself and he picked up Anko and took her to another room. Then he gave her the potion and washed himself off. He later cleaned the room before collapsing. That was yesterday and Keiji was still feeling bad. Anko hadn't come yet since the potion worked very slowly, but Naruto was sure that she could bring him back. When he felt the bloodlust trying to overcome him, he'd just think of Hinata and he was able to regain control. "Is he all right?" said a voice from behind the group. It was Anko, who was still having trouble supporting her. "He was traumatized by watching his brother die," said Tsunade, who was still analyzing his charts. "When we found him, he was holding his brother's severed head and crying his name. It must have been a deep mental blow to finally find a family member and then lose them all of a sudden." "Is there anything I could do to help?" asked Anko. She hated to see Keiji suffer like he was suffering now. He was like this when they were younger and just starting out as Chunin. "I think if you were taught ALK to him it might help," said Tsunade. "He can hear us, but right now he's under the illusion that he's all alone. It's stronger than a genjutsu, so we need a loved one to help bring him out of it." "Yes, I'll do whatever it takes," said Anko. Keiji wasn't in his nice warm bed, instead he was in the cold darkness still holding his brother's head. It was his eye that had driven everybody away. Now he just wanted to be on a level of consciousness where his existence was blurred. He wanted to be phased out of existence. That's what he felt he deserved for letting the madness get to him. "Keiji-kun," said a voice. He knew that voice. It was Anko's voice. "Anko, where are you?" he cried into the endless night. "Please be here with me, I have no one else, but I won't care if no one else comes as long as I get to see your face, even if it is one last time. Come to me, sighed Anko." Keiji walked blindly into the dark and he saw light. It was there that he saw Anko standing there, waiting for him to come home. He walked a bit until something held him back. His brother's head that he was still carrying now had a chain attached to it. He knew that if he didn't let go of that feeling, he would never see Anko again. He dropped the head and saw it be pulled back into the darkness. "Sorry brother, but it's a price I pay gladly to be with her." He walked all the way back home into the light where he belonged. Anko kissed his lips hoping for to feel the warmth flow back to her. She was crying when it didn't, but she didn't break contact. Then she felt the warmth return and she opened her eyes to see his. They were both still the red wolf eyes, but she could tell that it was Keiji who was kissing her back. His eyes didn't seem as creepy as they used to, in fact they looked kind of cool. Welcome back, said Enko, her face beaming the sun. Thank you for bringing me back, said Keiji. I love you because you're the only one who can make me change. You're the only one who can kiss the demons out of my dreams. Let me get rid of them for you, said Enko as she kissed his forehead. Everyone felt like they were a little bit closer to heaven. You want what? Asked Kakashi. I want you to be, said Keiji. Huh, said Kurenai. Could you please be? Asked Enko. What? Said Hinata. Huh, asked Gaara. Okay, said a puzzled Naruto. My best man, my maid of honor, flower girl, ring bearer, flower boy. I don't get it, asked Gaara. It's tradition for my clan to have the lord the groom is serving under to be the ring bearer, said Keiji. What about Naruto? Asked Gaara. Already have a place for him, said Keiji smiled evilly. I figure that we've been friends for so long that you'd be my maid of honor, said Enko. Of course I'll be your maid of honor, said Kurenai happily. You look cute in the dress that we got for the flower girl, said Keiji with Enko beside him. Besides you'll be right beside Naruto. You mean you'll be ring bearer? Asked Hinata. Something like that, said Keiji and Enko, both with an evil smile on their face. You look cute, like a girl, said Keiji. Also you can be right beside Hinata our flower girl. Couldn't I be the ring bearer? Asked Naruto. Sorry, but my clan's tradition says that Gaara must be the ring bearer, said Keiji. But we did get you a special outfit. Can't you make Rukia a flower girl and the both of us brides and grooms maids? I'm sorry but that cute face just deserves to be a flower girl. Or boy, said Enko, who was secretly fighting to stifle the laughter inside of her. Will you go the distance for a friend? Said Keiji. Alright, said Naruto. I promise to be your flower boy and to wear any outfit you can find for me. I want you to be my best man because we are the coolest people in Konoha, said Keiji, not noting the fact that he wasn't a part of Konoha anymore. Besides I tricked Naruto into being a flower boy and, here's the best part, I actually got 2 flower girl dresses. You didn't, said Kakashi grinning. I freaking did, said Keiji laughing out loud. Oh my god I'm going to have to get a picture of this, said Kakashi. He was holding his sides as he laughed maniacally. Oh damn, I know I should be stopping it, but I've got to see that. I know I'm going to have to apologize to the Yondaime's grave after this. To hell with you, said Keiji. I'm supposed to be Naruto's godfather. That's just plain low man. You're going to have fireworks? Asked Tsunade as she looked at their wedding plans. Yes I have a guy on it that I can trust, said Keiji. He's just outside with his right-hand man, another trustworthy guy, more or less. Send them in then, said Tsunade with a sigh. 2 men entered the cabin, one wearing stunner shades and the other one had an eye patch over his right eye like Keiji used to have before both his eyes turned into wolf eyes. They haven't changed back obviously. Doesn't mean that he's merged, just that he has control of his bloodlust. The man with an eye patch had short, curly blonde hair and a face that wasn't handsome, but not ugly at the same time. He had all the coolness and calm of a professional assassin, but he walked behind the stunner shades man, indicating him to be his assistant. Hello Lord Hokage, said the stunner shade man. My name is Kazuma and this is my right-hand man Sagat. Yes this is myself. Sagat is my professional who makes sure that we don't run into any trouble. His cousin is a bit of a klutz, but he's a good kid at heart. So who will be planning the fireworks, said Tsunade, not knowing whether to trust Sagat or his cousin with the fireworks. But she reasoned that since it would be at a place that they didn't own that she could trust Sagat. My cousin does manual work, but in the end I plan the whole show, said Sagat. Kazuma Dono gets the material and gives me any information on places we'll be. Tsunade had decided that Sagat was one of those strict military types and had probably been in some militia. His short muscular frame shouted ex-hired gun for a mile. She passed him off as humorless person until Shizune came in. Tsunade had thought that she'd left Tsunade at the village. But Shizune had had enough of the 2 weeks she'd been there. As soon as they saw each other they started flirting. That eye patch makes you look dashing, said Shizune. Thanks, but I can see where 2 eyes would be a benefit, said Sagat in a smooth voice. I wish I had another eye to look into both of those beautiful eyes of yours. It seems that both our subordinates have fallen for each other, said Kazuma. They're more like children, said Tsunade. Was your guy some child soldier? He was actually a part of the Hidden Mist village, but he was somehow mixed up in the failed coup. Explains a lot about himself, said Tsunade. Well, I guess they grow up so fast and we just have to happily see them leave the nest. Shizune, bring me some tea while you're up. Yes, would Kazuma-san and Sagat-san like some tea as well? Asked Shizune. Not now, I'm fine, but Sagat makes an excellent tea that he should help you with, said Kazuma. He turned to Sagat and said, go show her your special tea. Sagat nodded and led Shizune downstairs to make the tea. Tsunade and Kazuma gave a little chuckle. Ah, you gotta be kidding me, said Naruto. He looked again at his pink flower boy outfit, which was exactly the same as the flower girl's outfit. It was a cute pink dress. Hey, you put yourself at my mercy, said Keiji. You promised to wear anything I got you and that's what was in the box. You know you look cute in that outfit, kid, said Anko. You really think so, said Naruto, doing a little twirl for comedic effect. He decided that he might as well give them a show if he was forced to wear a dress. Sasuke and Sakura fought the laughter, while Kiba and his girlfriend, Nishino, roared with laughter. Shino and Hana observed the boy forced to wear a dress with a grin. Kakashi, Tsunade, Anko, Keiji, Jiraiya, and Gaara, yes Gaara, were rolling on the floor. Shinkomaru and Tamari laughed, then returned to looking at the sky. Rock Lee and Guy went to change into their groomsmaids. What do you call the guys? I don't know, wedding stuff, outfits. What they didn't know was that they were leftovers from the disco era and were rather purplish and sparkly. Every other guy had a black tuxedo with his family crest on it. They were told to bring their own tuxedos because everything Keiji had turned out to be out of date. Gaara wore his Case Cage uniform since he wanted to represent the Sand Village. Tamari wound up as a bridesmaid, but Kankuro was just invited, a fact that he was pleased with. He hated having to go through ceremonies. Hey, these tuxedos come with these neat wallet carriers, said Lee. Those were for the first gay marriage, which I think was for an uncle, said Keiji. They're purses and you're wearing gay outfits. Why the hell would they be mine, especially since I said wear your own tuxedo? Look at that outfit, it looks like it was designed by Tinky Winky. I think these are as bright as the flames of youth, said Guy, who had appeared right behind Keiji. Keiji backslapped when he heard shouting in his ears. Inside voice, dumbass, said Keiji. You are forbidden to talk at my wedding or any ceremony that you're invited to if I invite you. These wallet carriers are really useful, said Lee, holding up his purse. Inside he had his cell phone, his wallet, his medication, his checkbook, makeup, and a few tampons. Lee and Guy are starting to scare me and I'm the one writing this. Lee, you and Guy make me wonder in a bad way, said Keiji. Guy-sensei makes me wonder in a good way that I can't describe, said Lee. Before he could finish, Keiji put duct tape on his mouth. Whatever you and Guy do is between you, said Keiji. I will sleep comfortably without having to hear your stories running through my head. Just then they heard an explosion coming from outside the building. Keiji and Naruto rushed out the door after checking to see if their loved ones were safe. Sagat was beyond pissed. In fact, he wanted to beat the guy in front of him into a bloody pulp. He was helping Shizune making the tea while they kept up their flirt. He asked her to try a cup with him when he'd heard the explosion. Within a fraction of a second of the blast, Sagat had Shizune under a table for safety and then went to check on the explosion. He saw his cousin, Togasa, grinning nervously while covered in black powder. It's gunpowder, but they don't have guns, so it's called black powder. He knew instantly that Togasa had fucked up again. What the hell did you do? Asked Sagat, steams rising from his face. I was testing the durability of the dynamite when one blew up, said Togasa. How were you testing the durability? Asked Sagat. I could fucking swear I told you not to touch the damn dynamite. I hit it with a hammer, said Togasa, quickly flinching in expectation of the punch Sagat would surely throw. Instead, Sagat calmly put his right hand to his forehead. Why the fuck would you hit dynamite with a hammer? I was testing the durability. Why the fuck would you want to test the durability? We just calmly and gently lace it into or onto whatever we need in or near. What the fuck else did you expect us to do with dynamite? Play baseball with it? Is there any problem? Asked Keiji when he arrived. Yes, my partner is brain dead retarded, said Sagat. Are you guys trying to blow us up? Asked Naruto as he came close to them. Ask the retard who hid dynamite with a fucking hammer, said Sagat. Why would you hit dynamite with a hammer? Asked Naruto. To test its durability, replied Togasa. You guys planning to play football with it? Asked Naruto. He must think so, said Sagat walking away to finish his tea with Shizune. Everything else could wait for 2 hours. Alright Naruto, we have enough pictures, said Keiji laughing at Naruto who was still in the dress. Keiji handed him a blue tuxedo with the Keiji clan crest on it. This is the real outfit that I made personally, I just couldn't help but trick you into wearing a dress. Oh god, you made my day. You're my godfather, you sick bastard, said Naruto. You're supposed to protect me from those things. I know, and I'll make it up to you some way, said Keiji. But right now I have to meet with Kakashi and Sasuke about that gift I promised them. So you know a way to improve our Sharingan, said Kakashi. Your Sharingan originates from the eyes of the Okami, said Keiji. I can improve it, but to do so you must survive my nightmare stare. Survive? Asked Sasuke. My nightmare stare takes up a full night to finish working its magic, but since you have the Eye of Illusion you can strengthen your Sharingan's power. The problem is that if you can't resist it, your mind will be broken. Now I must know, will you stay or will you go? I will stay, said Kakashi. So will I, said Sasuke. Then look into my eye, said Keiji. They looked into it and were immediately pulled into its illusionary world. I hope you to survive it, but it has 50-50 chance of death, so we'll see in the morning. Keiji left the room and saw Sakura standing near the door. He knew from the accusing look in her eye that she had heard the whole thing. He gave her a look that said, "It's out of our hands." Tears formed in her eyes as she slapped him and walked up to her former teacher and her boyfriend. She helped each one into a bed and stayed by their sides all through the night. Naruto spent the morning training with Hinata, who had grown to do things with her Byakugan that neither Neji nor her father could do. As always, Naruto, her inspiration and her lover, cheered her on. They went in for breakfast where everyone was buzzing around Keiji to get information about what he did to Kakashi and Sasuke. It was Tsunade who asked him what the success rate was for the procedure. You have better chances performing brain surgery with a rusty spoon than they have of surviving it, said Keiji. He looked around to see everyone's shocked expression. Good, now I can have breakfast in peace. He ignored the death glares, but the two kunai broke his coffee mug and spilled hot coffee on his leather pants. He knew it was Sakura and Ayame, who had been invited by Keiji since Kakashi asked him to invite her. Ayame, I didn't even know you could throw kunai, said Keiji as if everything was normal. Kakashi-kun once taught me how to throw, said Ayame. If he dies, I'm going to use everything I learned from him to kill you. Since he has a 50-50 chance, then why don't you flip a coin to see if he'll live, suggested Keiji. That way his life is in your hands since you don't trust my hands. Ayame and Sakura both flipped coins, but the outcome wasn't favorable. They both hugged each other and cried for their lost lovers. Keiji thought it was hilarious and laughed until Anko shut him up with her fists. Ah yes, those fists hurt like hell. It was at 10 that footsteps were heard on the stairs. Everyone rushed to see Kakashi coming downstairs with Sasuke following. Ayame and Sakura rushed to hug their lovers and then beat the living shit out of them for putting them through so much grief. I guess there's a moral to learn from this, said Shikamaru. What's that, Shika-kun, said Tamari. You can't win with women, said Shikamaru while Keiji nodded in agreement as he was tied upside down.
That's all for now. If you enjoy this video, then please like, share and do comments.